And now, spoken word on COVID.
We're all in this together. We've never been
through this before. This doesn't feel like a virus. We have spent the day. This has been a long fucking day. We're going to get to this guy. This is, if you don't remember, our pastor at the center of our story. Chris Avell, Dad's place in Bryan, Ohio. The story of the fearless pastor who wants absolutely to do nothing but care for the unhoused and is being maliciously maligned by his city for nothing more than simply not caring if people burn alive in his homeless shelter. Silly people we are. We have maybe gone too deep on this. We are going deep, deep in this one. And it's going to be a decently long night because we're going to go over that. But this is part two. This is part two. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a long day, and I'm not super actually excited to do it, but I do want to go over, because there are some things that I'm always fascinated by when we have major news happening, and there's always, especially the last couple of weeks with our friend Trump, our buddy. Occasionally there's a thing I really want to make sure that we sort of talk about. This one, I think, is especially apt. As of today, effective February 4th, which is today, the United States is no longer accepting packages from China and Hong Kong. Letters are still going to be going through, and I think they have flats is the other term that they're using. They're not going to be impacted. That still goes, but we're shutting down. And this is one of those things that I'm very interested in how it shakes out, because this type of thing is the thing that the president has a huge amount of leeway on in terms of like what he can do. The Department of Education and getting rid of it, he can't really do that constitutionally. And they're going to try anyway. And again, America's destroyed. But this one, he has a lot of room to play with. So why? Why is he doing that? Well, for those of you who have been following the channel for some time, you'll know that once in a while, let me see one sec, make sure I still have them. I do, because I'll never get rid of them because I've been doing this for months. This has been a thing for years. I've been trying to figure out how Temu ships things to us. Because if you haven't bought stuff on Temu, generally don't, but also who cares? I have a back and forth on this. Temu, if you guys are ultimately completely unfamiliar, is a nightmare doom scrolling app for consumers to look at all of the cheapest shit that's ever existed and constantly sort of get positive feedback loops. When you click on something you like, it'll show you some more of that stuff as you go through the infinite scroll of consumerism. But Temu, like AliExpress and Shein, which is another one of these companies, they exist because the factories that are making all the stuff we buy from Amazon and, well, at least used to buy from Amazon or from Walmart, those factories don't stop producing. In fact, when Walmart's shipment is done, a lot of those places just go, all right, turn it back on. We're going to make the same thing. And they do very often. Mauser, if any of you build electronics, Mauser is a famous one for this. Mauser marks up everything. They're the big electronics wholesaler. So when you see me like with a bag of LEDs because I'm soldering some shit or building some dumb thing, or God, I mean, I have so much dumb crap. When you saw my earlier soldering streams, right? All of that stuff that you used to see me do, most of the stuff I bought from Mauser or I bought from people who bought from Mauser. Radio Shack's not a thing anymore. However, Mauser has to buy from somewhere. Mauser doesn't make this stuff. Mauser buys from China. So I started buying the stuff I was buying on Mauser from Temu, and it's identical. It's unmistakably identical, down to serial numbers, solder marks. There's scratches on the side in the same bag. You can tell when things are made at the same factory. It's wild. So Mauser's buying the cheapest shit and reselling it to us. So, do your thing. I have weird little things I've gotten. There's I think this one's called, one sec. I think it was called Naked Giant Man City. See if you can recognize what it is. It was like $3. And it's got little tiny titans. It's Attack on Titan with the little guys jumping and the little titans eating them. This was just a couple of bucks. I always buy random shit. The reason I buy random shit, aside from the fact that I kind of find some of it cute and hilarious, is because I get these package notes. I cut them off and keep them. I'm not going to dox myself because they have my address on them. But there's a weird thing in all of these, that all of these are shipped to Jane 371 Little Falls Road, Grove, New Jersey. They, like, all of them. Jane 357. These were shipped months apart. Jane 357. Jane 371. What is Jane 371? Because I have an issue and I want to return it. I want to return something. By the way, you'll see how many people fucking Googled this. This is on Malware Tips Forum as an entire article, because this is, have you ever received a package in the mail you didn't order? Perhaps it was a cheap trinket, a phone case, some random gadget shipped directly from China. If so, you may have been the victim of an insidious e-commerce scam known as brushing, or just buying things on Temu. Right? That thing. That's the setup. So how it works, what to do if you're a victim, how to protect yourself, blah, blah. This is, all of these have this. It's the same setup. Some of them have a second address, but when you peel back the underneath, same thing. So what is Jane 371? Jane 371 is this place right here. This is where all of Temu's packages are shipped from. Right? All of them? They're not. They're not. So how does Temu get stuff to us, and why is it so good for them? And it is very, very, very good. How they do this. They have cheap shit. We know that. But still shipping things isn't wildly cheap. Like Amazon Prime even fucks you with, like, you know, delivery occasionally is going to be like $3 or $4, even if it's covered by Prime, because Prime free shipping is even more and more difficult every day. How is it that Temu can, my last order, what did I get? I got a VGA cable. Like, I just buy something. I spent like $2. And it was shipped to me in 3 days from China for free. How? This place is not where Temu ships its stuff. This is the place that Temu forwards its stuff from. It's all shipped from China because there's this weird loophole. Let's talk about a thing that we're going to talk about: the United Nations and a globalist union of postal services, which is like, it sounds like conspiracy theory shit. But if you don't know about the Universal Postal Union, like, you'll be like, what? It's just a part of the United Nations, and it was founded 1800s when postal became a thing. This is a real thing. It's been a real thing for a very long time. The reason it's a real thing is fantastic. Now, let's start with America first. Why does America have a national postal service? Why don't we have it privatized? Because it isn't profitable to deliver to most people. It is incredibly expensive to deliver to most people. If you live anywhere that would require 2 or 3 stops. If you're an hour outside of a city or worse, or in a small town, postage to you, go look up what it costs UPS to send. That's probably as close as what USPS would be if I sent something via normal mail on USPS. But the government subsidizes all of it. So that way letters can always get to where they're going, because they want, and they wanted, when this first started, they wanted people to go where there weren't other people, to settle, to move out, to murder Indians and take their land, all that fun stuff we love doing, but to expand. And now that we're expanded, they want to make sure that those places have a chance to develop, because it's important that those small places also have postal services. Otherwise, people won't move there. They won't go there. This is true of not just America, but this is the world. Yeah, Alaska. Olivia, Alaska's a great example. I had a friend who he ran the Shakespeare Company up there. He used to run the Shakespeare Company. He died, but when he was alive, he ran the Shakespeare Company out of Chicago. And then he got asked to go do it in Alaska. And he was like, amazing. The mountains and everything. He was so excited. He and his partner went, and he fucking hated it because you're removed from everything. And Alaska overall would have no postal service from America. You wouldn't be able to send shit up there because it's insane. But again, subsidized. But we built this, and we weren't alone. Other nations, especially in the 1800s, were building these. But there were a lot of places that were trying to build these. Africa, for example, Australia, for example, Southeast Asia, for example, China, for example, in the late 1800s, wanted to be part of this, but it would be genuinely impossible to afford to send a letter to China as it was. So the Universal Postal Union got together. It's all these countries, 190 some countries. I want to say it's 100 and one sec. I want to make sure I get it right. Something like that. One sec. I just fucking... Come on, just tell me how many people. There's cool stats here. Like, come on, just show me the cool stats. Because it's a really great thing. 192 member countries, established in 1874. And it's the idea as a thing is that any organization that is part of this overall, and this has changed, we'll go through this, but it was founded so that way Kenya, China, and other places could be part of the overall postal system without it becoming so ridiculous to send things there. And also for people to send things from there to developed nations. This was the idea. Generally good idea. I mean, as far as stuff goes, this is how you build infrastructure. This is how you do stuff. It's great to favor trade, especially amongst developing nations. And at some point, some of these nations stopped being developing nations, but they kept because of their position at the UN on various councils, and because they had a lot of pull and sway, and made some good arguments about how most of their country is still rural. China stayed in that place of being deeply, deeply subsidized. Deeply subsidized. Where members who agree to do this agree not to charge above a certain amount for parcels to them or from this crazy shit. And again, very good when they're not developed. This, however, went on for some serious time. And China and Shein and other things like it, drop shipping as a thing, for example, abused the fuck out of this, because it basically meant that they could get almost free shipping to anywhere in the West and America, and they used it. So you actually can track single parcels, which is the worst energy efficiency that there is, from China, from Hong Kong to the United States. And we are basically paying for it with our tax dollars. This isn't new. This is the thing people started bitching about, I want to say the end of Obama's term, even before Trump was around. And then in Trump's term, he did a thing, kind of did this, to be frank. We left the union for like, I think a week. Then we rejoined the union under the agreement that we would pay a little bit more. We'd pay a little bit less or subsidize a little bit less. Yay. So this isn't the first time Trump's done this. And it's a thing that really does need to be taken care of, because it's leading to and incentivizing the worst kind of productive processes that exist. It's bad, I think I would say. I don't think this is good. I hate to tell you, I'm not a big fan of this as a thing explicitly itself. This is not a thing I'm backing. So as much as you may go, well, wait, what do you mean? It's not good. It's not good. So here we have an actual change that's happened. It's actually kind of interesting. Trump, the first time around, said, we're going to do this. We actually stepped out of the union and then we rejoined it because fucking nothing matters and I don't even know what's true anymore. But now we've suspended these parcels because it didn't slow down. Other means of getting around this has happened. And there's a lot of interesting so this is actually a really interesting thing to keep an eye on because 100% of this, there's no laws in the books about exactly how the USPS needs to handle certain international packages. We have treaties, but even they are kind of vague and set up. This is actually a thing to watch because this thing Trump has 100% power on, and there's not really anything that's going to stand in his way. Just like when Bush changed the way that the Postal Service functions by forcing it to fund 100 years of retirement for everyone who works in it, immediately making them in debt and not as profitable as they were. They're deeply profitable. But no one can stop that. They just did this. They can do this. The USPS is part of that setup. So it's going to be really fascinating to watch. I think it's really important to keep an eye on. I highly recommend this story specifically, because it'll kind of give us an eye of what actually can happen when he has the ability to be in charge. And it's not, one, gaining notoriety. People don't care about this. It's a blip in comparison to the other horrifying things he's doing. Oh no, this is not Trump's idea, except it is something he likes and he's attracted to because it's China, Hong Kong that he gets to fuck with. So what he's going to do here, I think, is actually a really interesting sort of litmus test around what actually he has any intention of. My money is that this goes away after a week when China gives some concession or buys a bunch of his token or just, I don't know, sucks his balls on TV. I don't know. Like, he's awful, just beyond corrupt. But this is going to be a thing to watch because no one cares. Like, this is the thing. You're not going to see this on the nightly news anywhere. No one gives a fuck about this. This is like one of those really bureaucratic stories that's not going to anger people. So when it doesn't and no one cares, what does he do? That's, for me, that's the fascinating side of this one. Right? So I wanted to hit into that. Keep an eye on that one. That's all. Chris Avell. I've had this loaded since earlier. You can see here's Sunday, and there's, oh, look, Queeman. That's nice. Drama streams, apparently, is my recommendations. Where do I want to start with this? Let's start with the Miro board. That's probably going to be the best way for us to have this conversation. Come on. Okay. Let's go through top line. Queeman stinks in your opinion? That's fine. I occasionally watch a lot of different things now that I never wanted to, thanks to sort of knowing people who are involved, and it helps me fall asleep. Because drama content I find very, very sort of boring in that way. That's like Pokemon, the video game, is enough for you to think that you're playing a game. It's not enough to make you tired. If that makes sense. Kind of that. So, the story. We got Sure Shot, I think, hit me up with the story, and a couple of people pinged because it was this really interesting, sort of sad thing. Right in the middle here, you can see it. This Ohio pastor wanted to help. He's been found guilty over running a homeless shelter. This is USA Today. This was picked up everywhere. This was picked up by a More Perfect Union, who are very left-wing and very smart guys. Everyone dove to this guy's defense. Spidey sense tingled. I knew some bullshit was going on there. I don't think we realized how much. Because we knew there was some bullshit, I was like, this is actually a great way for us to start working with our framework. And now begins the elephant stream. Lakoff wrote a book called Don't Think About Elephants. The idea is, and the core crux of the argument underneath all of it, is that conservatives, spend a great deal of time building a narrative that is very specific and written in a way to make sure that you can do nothing but respond about elephants. So when they say, look, don't think about elephants, there's nothing to say except, well, I'm not thinking of elephants. I said not to think of elephants. You're thinking of, like, they frame the thing in a way that forces you to respond a certain way. Lakoff goes through this entire process of how they did it, how they build it, how they set it up, and then again, how we can counteract this. This is the elephant framework. You're going to hear me use this phrase probably too often because one, I think it sounds funny when I say it, but two, I find it actually overall itself an interesting sort of way to talk about these things because no one else uses the term. No one else uses the term. We're not forced. Yeah, it depends on your definition of forced. So as such, this story being a perfect representation of the nature of the propaganda of the right-wing Christian conservative groups, the way that they're set up, the way that they're built, perfect example. So let's use it as one. So 4 steps to this. As Lakoff doesn't really lay it out like this, but this is how I've taken it, and this is how a few others that he was talking about in the conservative movement do it. First thing we do is we go through the dominant framing. We've spent a good deal of time on this. This was the first stream. Where we go through, we find quotes, and apparently Among Us characters. And we figure out what are the words that are being framed. What is the setup? What is the elephant around the entire thing? The dominant overall framing. And you find all of the words for this, all of the setup, all of the things that is about that framing. This is the current frame analysis right here. Oh, fuck. Track metaphors in public discourse. Identify emotional trigger words. What is the media expression of all this? What are the people who coined various phrases? Track the funding behind the promotion. All of these things. We dove really deep into this. Second step is to go through and discover stakeholders. It's kind of where we left off because this ended up being a weird closed dead end. And by the way, I want to thank everyone who's been taking part in this. If you want to, join the Discord, discord.gg/DGQC, and join the stream chat, which is, there's an elephant thing inside of that, which we're going through as a thing. But the setup overall with stakeholders is to go through and say, who's benefiting, who's in it, who's the cost, who's the problem, all the stakeholders and their relationships across everything. We got through very cleanly First Liberty. First Liberty is the legal organization representing our friend here, and they have been for an oddly long amount of time. If this is only up for this, it's been years they've had a relationship. And First Liberty, of course, is part of the network that is the Federalist Society. Don't know the Federalists. It's part of the group who runs the Supreme Court. I think it's most of the Supreme Court, maybe even 5 of the 7 are Federalist assholes. And what I mean by that is not people who believe in it, but people who either were core to founding it or raised by it and picked up by it literally during law school or earlier, who ran versions of it in some capacity. They're extreme right-wing lunatics. First Liberty is an offshoot of this. This is what we would call the people who shape all of it. They're not the people who stand to benefit. These are the people who shape it. The benefit is actually really interesting. It's developers of commercial spaces. And particularly, we're going to see developers who work in the space of taking old buildings and making them churches, which is a fucking booming industry. If anyone else here has I guess that used to be a Walmart. That used to be a Osco Drugs. That used to be a blank. And it's that there's an entire industry of developers who do this. We'll get to that. But this beneficiary straight up for this, at this point, there's no one. But if the Supreme Court overrules the idea that churches have to obey fire code, which is a sentence I'm still fucking blows my mind that I have to fucking say. I'm endorsing cookie dough. They didn't sponsor, but I am a shill for things I like. Fuck you, Sunday. We look at good things that have interesting stuff. Your fucking stream made me so mad today. Genuinely, your stream made me lose my shit so bad. For those who didn't watch Sunday, and I'm sure all of you did, I have like 12 viewers. Myself. The rest of you are all people from Sunday's community, I know. But he was watching a guy who genuinely didn't read books, describing and reviewing those huge, thick sets of like the greatest books ever written, which is like just shit thrown together. And I was having an aneurysm. Like the idea of reading, like, what was the list? One sec. I was just like, it broke my brain when I was like watching and I'm like, wait. Did he just, the book has, yeah, I have a screenshot. I took a screenshot to make To the Lighthouse, Virginia Woolf, which is like just a nice story about time and mortality. It's beautiful. And then the next one in the book is like Metamorphosis from Kafka, which is not a nice story about mortality. It's a short story about a man becoming a cockroach. And then D.H. Lawrence's Prussian Officer, which is like it's an entirely different type of thing about sexuality. It was like, these are the three books, but they're in a section. I was like having a fucking stroke that these are things you read one after the other. And the idea that you could take anything from any of them with that is insane. Sorry for the rant. God, sorry for the rant. Anyway, I don't want to look at my DMs right now. We're having a good conversation. I know it's your find, and I feel like if I do, we're going to do this, but I may do a late stream. Would you like to come on and enjoy? Would you like to go over this? Because I don't want to poach your kill, but I feel like I'm poaching your kill if we watch it. Because I think it would be fun to watch after this. Excellent. But let's keep doing this. We're not going to switch. There's going to be a late stream. It's on 10:30. We'll give it a few minutes and then we'll quit and I don't know. Back to our friend here. What we have that benefits is specifically, and it's a really weird set of things and incentive structures that are at play here. You have to remember that specifically, Dad's Place is in a very unique position in terms of zoning. It isn't just a building as a thing. It's actually in a building downtown in the special zone of Bryan, Ohio, which is a space that gets tax breaks and grants for people who build in it or build up in it. Like, say, a landlord who's not charging rent to a guy who's running an illegal homeless shelter out of the back of a taco house. Just because I feel like I need to put this, we're gonna be putting a lot of stuff in this rubric today, but I want to make sure we get Dad's Place. I want to make sure we really get into exactly. Dad's Place is not like a church. When I say it's the back room of a taco place, I'm dead serious. This is the taco place, Tacos Nacho, which, by the way, looks lovely. It has, see this building behind it? Well, you can't really. We're going to have to jump over across to the other street. And then, ready? Okay. That door is Dad's Place. Okay? That's Dad's Place. This is the homeless church. Now, what makes it really, really frustrating, and the reason that we're kind of cracking up about it, that makes it really annoying, is, thank you, we'll close that. Here is the taco place. Let's go zoom down a little bit. There's a taco place. Mini Claw Mania, which is a crane game place and everything. And you can even see the Pokemon Minecraft Kids thing. Like, I scrolled blah, blah. Dad's place, parking in rear. You know what's right here? Fucking homeless shelter. It's right there. And it is a religious homeless shelter. I've had zero issues with that. I actually really like these people. We've looked way deep into all of them, and these people fucking won me over. But all of this is one big ass fucking homeless shelter with a lot of families, actually. And what happens with the sanctuary is like this. These are people who actually live there, I would bet. Like they have these things outside, these chairs outside the setups. People take care of them. They bring them in. It's a whole thing, like a community setup that they've really spent time working on. And here is the sanctuary. Now, these people who run this don't allow adults who are on active drugs or violent or sex offenders to stay there because they have families there. Many of them, it's actually primarily their thing is that they have families. That's their setup. So, sad. It's the hole in the system that people fall through. And Dad's place ostensibly exists because down this alleyway, you can walk, or down actually like the middle alleyway thing they've got here that goes up and around. It's a weird thing. Or you can go around behind to get to Dad's place, and it's open 24 hours. They have no beds. They have a bed in the back that we found. A bed in the back in a room that locks. That we think locks from the outside. Can't really tell. There's not a ton of video footage of people sleeping there. In fact, I would put forward that nobody sleeps there, really. That maybe there's a place in the back, but you can't have a place maybe in the back to be a shelter. How the story goes is that Chris wanted to turn this place into a shelter. He went to the city, and the city said, okay. That's how this story starts. They said, hey, if you're going to be doing that, though, right now it's a commercial storage area. And that's like not really set up for like 24-hour a day, people sleeping there and shit. You have to change. You're wanting a zoning exception. And to shift will let you, but you have to make the upgrades. He said he would and lied. Did this 3 times over the course of months and months and months, and even over a year. Lied every single time. Flatly lied. And I will say lied, not just didn't make the improvements, because he never made a move to do it. Over and over and over and over. And this is what Dad's place is. And so at the base of it, this is about city ordinances and zoning that are preventing the upgraded use of spaces. And the developers of these spaces don't want to put out a small amount of money for it. It's not a lot. This is not, we're talking $5,000, maybe 10. Chris has raised $30,000 to $40,000 himself just doing this and putting this out. But the law firm has spent apparently in excess of $20 million this last year on it. They're not a cheap legal firm. We'll just say they're not a cheap legal firm. Cookie dough's great. So as you do, we start putting things together. And there's some really weird, very specific things we started noticing. So, if you're ready for the rabbit hole, this is Chris, who believes that you need to pray COVID away to send the devil fleeing. He is fascinating. His church, Disciple Day, which this is him when he first started doing it, I guess, is filled with AI slop And it's really weird. And his trans takes, we'll just say, are unenlightened. And I kind of want to leave it there because, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I would love to actually play it for someone who's like a Christian. Like, if I ever did a debate, I'd be like, I need you to explain this short for me. It's a 60-second short, and just watch them self-destruct as it just is weird. If you don't believe in Jesus, you don't, like, he's nuts. He's a fucking asshole. And here's the thing. We started digging all over the place when it came to, like, what it meant and how it worked, because he's been doing a lot of shit for a lot of time. But there's some very particular things we started to notice that is weird. And I've got to, one sec, got to pull them out. This is like the fucking rabbit hole of it all. We found this article by searching his wife. Come on. No, I know. You're having a tough time, internet. There you go. Really? You're not going to let me move that into the other window? Fair enough. I'll just do it myself then. This blog shows up. This is not written by Chris. This is written about Chris and his wife, Lisa. And it's written from a pastor who for 40 years had a significant church and a large following. And we'll get to that. But he describes his following, and it's where Brian, the home of the dum-dum suckers, if you ever had a dum-dum, every kid in, I think most people in America have seen dum-dums. They're huge, maybe even, they're a big deal. And the Etch-a-Sketch was made there. Great. He's got all these little history bits. He's met a bunch of people, and he's like, one of those people I met is these guys called Chris and his wife Lisa, the Avel, in 2009, who began attending. Now, this timeline's fun because Chris tells the story that he was an atheist and hated God until his conversion in 2011. So that was weird to find. It's like, oh, very specific dates for this guy. Well, the Avels returned Sunday, came back. Chris became part of one of the men's groups I personally led. Chris began, I was amazed at how well he knew the Bible. By this time, I knew he had been an atheist. I would later learn, basically skim the entire Bible a couple of times to personally investigate the claims of Christ. So this bullshit story is a lie. It's all a lie. All these people lie all the time. They're always full of shit. But then there's this weird set of lines in here. In 2018, Chris launched Dad's Place Church to accomplish his goal. Deb and I have been financial supporters of Dad's Place Church. Here are some fun facts. If you didn't know, these are fun facts I'm going to share. And by fun facts, I mean depressing things that you probably don't want to know. Churches, in Ohio especially, but most states, don't even have to register that they're churches. They just do it and never have to file taxes. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I learned that today. I assumed that a church, despite not being taxed, still had to say what they did with money, because it's not actually free for all. You're not free from taxation. You're free from being taxed on things. No. Church don't got to do shit. So Dad's Place is just a church. Doesn't have to register as anything. Doesn't ever have to file any fucking paperwork. Money comes in. They don't give a fuck. They never have to tell anyone. I didn't know that. That's fucking crazy to me. And then it makes a lot more sense suddenly when we start talking about how there's more dark money on the right. Weird, right? Did anyone know that? I'm actually asking, did anyone know that? Suddenly you had to, this is a church. I am a church. It makes you want to do that, doesn't it? It's fucking nuts. And you can. You just can. Look up your state, various states. Washington, you can. I could do this. And you just go, oh, I'm a church. There are some requirements, like you have to register for a certain thing, but it's not really anything. It's weird. But he launched in 2018. This is a while back. This is 7 years. This is longer than Chris said he'd been doing this. Right? It's wild. Chris had been doing this. They donated furnishings. During the 6 years of the existence, I watched Pastor Chris represent Jesus Christ, blah, 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 shitting out my mouth. The city of Bryan over past months has taken a significant legal action against Pastor Chris and Dad's Place. I remember speaking with Chris after some of his action had been taken against him and Chris being mystified as to why the city was doing so. I know it seemed like a David and Goliath situation to him where the city of Bryan having all their resources and personnel and departments, you know, like fire code. It's like we have it. I'll pull it up. We have it in the Discord too. We have the fire marshal's complaint. It's like really basic shit that if you don't want, it's like the kind of thing where Republicans want to get rid of OSHA now, and it's like, do you understand what that fucking means? Like, what the fuck you want? So you want no codes around locking doors while people are sleeping inside and have no way out. You want no fire suppression systems on a place that's going to house 10, 20, 30 people. But that's right. So here's the sentence that I think sets me off. Because for the longest time, we've been trying to figure out how First Liberty found our friend. Because that's not normal. The city of Bryan's actions came across the radar of the United States Department of Justice, who then contacted First Liberty to contact Pastor Chris. Now, this is a very interesting set of very specific things that I'm curious how he has this knowledge. What he's saying here, and how I'm reading it, and I'm being a little bit more specific than him, but I think it's fair, but the Northern District of Ohio, which Bryan's in, this is J.D. Vance territory. You have to remember, Ohio's like Republicanville. Like of the worst fucking kind. Ohio sucks. Sorry, I know some of you live there. I've been through. Cleveland sucks. Toledo sucks. Ohio sucks. I'm so sorry. I have friends in Ohio. It sucks. It sucks. Drew Carey show's the best thing to ever come out of it. The setup is that this is my money, he contacted his friends in the Department of Justice, the Northern District, which is a major law firm, and a guy from a major law firm and an activist, religious activist, who he went, hey, can we do something about this? And he went, because again, the Department of Justice isn't going to refer people to the First Liberty to sue the state. That's not what the fucking Justice Department does, unless they're already there. So the Department of Justice, the attorney for the Northern District of Ohio, contacted First Liberty and said to contact Pastor Chris. This is not written anywhere else. There's literally nowhere else in the world, and we have spent time looking, that anyone has any conversation about the United States Department of Justice as being a part of this. So why? That's weird, right? I find that weird. And so this guy just basically says, like, the way I know Chris, I don't understand why efforts were not made to sit down and meet with him. They did. They met with him multiple times. They gave him approval for doing this. Like, this guy is straight up playing the line. And he knows more. He knows more. Chris made several phone calls to mayor office requesting to discuss the matter. None of his calls were returned. It's not true. Like, we have the paperwork that shows he was contacted. He was at meetings that they had the conversation. The press release the City of Bryan released does not deny those calls happened. Why the city took legal steps they did against Dad's Place, Pastor Chris versus far less adversarial option is something that has not been explained by the city. Now the entire matter is escalated to the courts, including the federal courts, as First Liberty has come alongside Pastor Chris and Dad's Place Church. The extensive court filing. Now, this is the language. The extensive court filing First Liberty initiated is both enlightening and disappointing in how it disputes so much of the city's press release and adds relevant information not found in the press release. There is much in those documents I do not have the ability to verify, but there are some claims the city makes in their press release that seem suspect or overstated to me. Perhaps the trial, if it moves forward in federal court, will bring the truth to light. The documents are public, blah, blah, blah. I pray for all parties involved, blah, blah, blah. What a jackass. So, This is a pastor who Chris was one of his flock, right? 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 Well, let's have a conversation for a second and find out who this guy is. Hi, I'm George Kreger. During a ministry that spanned 4 decades as lead pastor of New Hope Community Church in Bryan, Ohio, which we looked at, it is on, from what I can see, 3 acres and is gigantic. I led 6 major building projects to accommodate our growth. He led 6 major building projects. My personal commitment was to always build debt-free. One of the 10 strategies I developed to fulfill this was starting a company so I could save my church money on needed furnishings. This is fucking... I remember well that first purchase of 1,000 chairs, blah, 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 blah. So 14 years later, and all that. Yay. Copyright your church your money, all this shit, phone call, blah, blah, blah. So, let's go through a little timeline here. As a thing. Fucking, I hate when this shit happens like this. The internet is a fascinating thing. So, Rotary, if you're not familiar with Rotary, Rotary Club is like do-gooders international. I don't know how else to put it. It's business leaders who tend to be deeply Christian and right-wing, tend to do nice things. They do like charity events for everything. They take care of stuff. They do a lot of charity drives. One of those things they do is a silent auction. All of them do this. All of them do this. My ex-wife was in fucking Rotary. They were very lovely. It's not my fucking bag of shit. And clearly neither was she. The setup across all of it is helping businesses connect to people and like get out in the community. It's like a Chamber of Commerce play. And George Kreger was a part of this. And as we were diving through, we found an old Flickr account from the Rotary Club of Bryan. April 29th, 2010. This photo is taken because it's one of many photos that is businesses get cool things, basically. You bid on these things and you get some cool shit out the other side, right? Hey, look, you get right here. It's a Rotary auction. We'll supply and install one white double-hung window up to 91 United inches. That's a $400. That's actually a fucking good deal. $400 value. Silent auction. They get donated that. The money that's spent on that then is donated. And this is 2010, where Christopher Avell puts in for $1,200 a website design certificate. Now, we don't know who won this. We don't know who won this. One sec. But we do know. Come on. That the website was built 3 months later. That's fucking weird, right? Lo and behold, this dude has a website. Exactly, I guess this would be like May, June, July, August, September, launching, getting out there, and then you modify it for 3 months. This is exactly the timeline for launching a large-scale catalog site in 2010 that's built on the back of WordPress. And that's weird, right? Timing of that. I think that's weird. I find this weird. And then we keep going because Jesus Christ, the odd little bits never fucking stop. Specifically, we found when we started looking at Wikipedia, for those of you who don't know, Wikipedia doesn't have a page on everyone, but editing pages exist for everyone, basically. If they're of note at all, they're in. This is a denied. Star Mississippi basically said, fuck off, we're not putting this up. It's filled with social media bullshit. And it is. This is a story of Chris, this web developer, known for his work as a founding pastor at Dad's Place and his involvement in web marketing and development for Christian organizations. Weird. Sources 1. His Facebook profile says this. It did, by the way. There's another citing of it that I want to go through. His career. Before his religious conversion, Avell was a self-proclaimed atheist and worked in web marketing and development. He co-founded Savior Church Money. This is what he put on his website, that he's a co-founder of this business. A business that, just again, to give you the scale of it, and Avell, Pastor Chris, Avell is Pastor Chris, yes. Chris Avell is a pastor minister now. They've saved churches $2.2 million. 7,500 churches that they've done this with by buying and selling furniture for very cheap. And they've made very good money off. If you've saved $2.2 million, you ain't made $30, right? Like, come on. So that's fascinating. Fascinating. And Chris is a co-founder of it, a service aimed at assisting churches saving money on furnishings alongside Pastor George Krager. In 2009, at the age of 33, Avell experienced a significant life change when he prayed for divine revelation and became a Christian. All of this is Facebook, Facebook, Facebook. The account that did this doesn't have a lot of edit history. There's a reason that Star, Mississippi has a fuck ton. Star, Mississippi is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, these are people who've done a lot. These Wikipedia users get very, very much not enough love. But the submitter and the person behind it, it's weird. Weird shit. Claims co-founded Savior Church Money. And that happened in 2010 when the website was made for this. And this was put together for the first time. The timeline's weird. And it doesn't work for their timeline. Their timeline flatly doesn't allow for what they're claiming and how they're saying it works. Because if you remember, he claims 2009, Chris was a member of his flock. Never mentions once the website thing or being the co-founder of a company that has done millions of dollars in business. That's called shaping a story. And scrubbing the fuck out of social media, doing everything you can to stop any of this stuff from showing up that you don't want to show up. That is manufacturing a story. This guy knows it. This guy knows it. I want to go through one specific video of his, though, that I really, really liked. Because our friend George has a few videos. And again, I found it weird as a thing. I always find, I mean, you're going to hear me say weird a few times. But I want to play this one because it just happens to be. What the fuck? Come on. There you are. All right. Poop. I don't believe in coincidence. It doesn't mean I don't think coincidences aren't real. It's that I don't believe coincidence, accidental. That, oh no, coincidence has a reason for showing up when it does. For example.
Hi, this is George Krager, and here's the skinny on church chair ganging. We call ganging the interlocking mechanism that is used for chairs in auditorium row seating. Sometimes a church will say to us, well, we don't really want that. We want our chairs to be separate, and we'll come back and say, listen, you need to understand that with any large setting, normally the fire marshal, the fire codes say that chairs need to be hooked together because if there's an emergency, if the fire alarm goes off, they don't want chairs just being...
I mean, the odds that this is the first thing on his fucking channel is him talking about fire codes in churches. You tell me what the fucking odds are. I invite it. I invite the odds. So we started digging a little bit further. Well, there's another website called Church Furniture Partner. That's the same company, subsidiary. These things have had their documentation and ownership has shifted. They've removed people. So, hi, if you have a company, you have faith in Chris. Why would you have faith in Chris? Chris is irrelevant to the conversation. Chris is, if you want, I can't tell quick. God damn it. I can't tell if you're fucking with me. You like to fuck with me. It's tough to tell. But the weirdness of this is, when you have a company, doesn't matter, LLC, C Corp, S Corp, you have to file that shit with somebody. That's real shit. That's not like a church scam. You actually have to put shit out there and go, hey, I am the owner of this, and here's what we do, and here's generally our setup. You should go make a company, by the way. Everyone should have one. LLC, S Corp, C Corp, especially if you do streaming, entertainment, or anything. It's a great vehicle to do stuff from to limit your own liability in ways that kind of matter. Good to have. You do this, but ownership changes. As it always has, as it always will. There's no like steady ownership for anything. And so when that happens, you have to update the state. You have to update the paperwork. And so when you do that, you can take people off, you can add people, you can change ownership structures, you can add members to a board. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it needs to be recorded by the state. So that way they have the information for not just tax purposes, but for legal reasons, because lawsuits are a thing. This fucking guy, somehow in about a year ago, became the only person on any of the paperwork related to any of these companies related to this. Now, I don't know if before that, because you can't, I'm not paying to search for it, and I couldn't find, we're in the middle of this one. I would bet we can find old versions of things, though, as you always can. But all of this changed right about the time that they got this law firm involved, right around the time this blog was written. This is the thing. This is the thing. This is how they manufacture. So when we start talking about what Chris is like and how they're set up and how they're put together, there's a lot of really weird specific things. For example, the space that Chris is renting, which we don't know if he rents or if he's just given it. We believe he's just given it at this point, is from the Reilly family, R-A-E-H-L-E family, who are excessively wealthy landowners in Bryan. They're one of the more influential families who own a bunch of stuff there, and he's renting from them. The Reilly family is actually who's being represented by this firm, the legal firm. No one's talked about them because they're fucking landowners. People fucking hate them. Fuck those people. Fuck them. But he's the center. This criminal pastor, Chris Savelle, from Dad's Place. This guy. So these are the people involved. We're digging deeper. We love to dig deeper. There is an excessive amount of weird crossovers. If you want to join the Discord, you can start to see most of them. Discord.gg/DGQC. And it's in our stream chat where we have this board to go back to it. So we're slowly making our way through the stakeholders. As we're doing this and we start figuring out the setup, and ultimately we came to this, that the cast is sad. It's this nice dumb preacher. I don't think Chris is necessarily malicious about this. I think he is, and that's shifting as I start to understand that maybe he actually has money, that maybe he's a co-founder. Like the stuff that he's written on his own Facebook at one point or another makes me go, you're not, as they've been saying and been playing in the videos, he's not been sleeping at the church too. They always play him as dirty and disheveled. In every single video, you'll see it. He's disheveled, he's sweaty, he's this. And then when you go find other videos, he ain't. It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's manufacturing it. Manufacturing. So, this major landowner that is actually being represented by this firm with the pastor as basically the patsy in the middle, who may happily join. It doesn't really matter. Pastor Chris is irrelevant. But the worst is this thing right here, the desperates. That's what I'm just calling them. The videos that they have put up in order to exploit this situation breaks my fucking heart. Genuinely fucks with me. And it's hard for me not to get really angry at this motherfucker. because, and let's talk about these guys right here. This is the sanctuary. Okay. I'm going to show you the sanctuary. And we can go to there. It doesn't matter. Here's them right here. These are the people who run it. It's the family that runs it. You will not see. These are the people who volunteer. People working on it and building. You're not going to see images. Look at this. The fucking babies. For babies. These are for babies. Unhoused babies. These are good people. This is the stuff that like. The desperates are not scammers. No, this is worse than that. The desperates are people who are desperate. The proper word is the pathetic, but people think that means that you're calling a person a bad thing. Pathetic is meant to be extremely evokes empathy. Their pathos is with them. Like it's I don't know how else to use the words, but you'll see one thing that's not in any of these images is the people who stay there. These are the people donating money. These are the people dropping off gifts. These are the people who run the thing. You're not going to see we went through their Facebook as well. They don't do that. Like they literally don't do that. And it's really, like these are people donating. They aren't children who live there. Because a proper place that does this work never, ever, ever, and I mean this ever, features the people who stay there because it shames them. It shames them. As much as they know, and they do know, and everyone knows this. Oh, if you put the people who are the most pathetic up, then you'll get more donations. Could absolutely do that. But it makes you a piece of shit because you're exploiting a person. And that person needs to get back on their feet with no stigma, and you need to be able to protect them from that. That is your job. It's your fucking job when you work at these places. Sorry, I've had people really drill this into me, and it's a thing that I get really angry about, as you can tell. And these people, you can tell, drilled fucking right into it, and they care. And this is what they set up. It's a fundraiser they were having. These are not people who live at the shelter. These are people who help with the shelter in various ways. Compare that to, not this asshole, these poor people. This is why the pathetic are in that, the desperate. This is Marilyn and Morgan, clearly drug addicted recovery people, and
Well, guys, please.
It was a mess.
Easiest way to put it. Well,
doesn't have teeth. Meth. This is I have friends that this is what they turned into. This is heartbreaking. This hurts so much to watch. And this is, how did Dad's place help you? He reconfirmed my faith. I got baptized. So did my kids. She says, yep, that's what we got. Got our lives back on track by finding God. This is not a shelter for the unhoused. This is a space to proselytize and convert. This is not to help people get back on their feet. This is the challenge with this story at its baseline. And you'll see when we talk about the framing and we have a big empty thing down here as we're trying to figure out how to reframe. We have even less, we have more over here. This dude and what he's doing doesn't sound bad. On its surface, it's not. He's people who are desperate, he's giving a place to go. And as he says, they wouldn't be taken in anywhere. But is he helping them? To him, and he says this explicitly in his YouTube videos, to him, he is, because it's about conversion and saving people. One sec. Let's see if I can find the video where he goes and says this explicitly. This fucking dude he's such a fucking piece of shit. It might be on this one. I'm not gonna make more spectacles of these people. I can barely handle talking about it without like raging. Oh, it's right there.
The atrocities and the things happening in Israel and in Gaza, which is worse? The fact that people are being murdered, being
This is not as old as you think. This was October 17th, 2023. This was right then.
Killed at the end of a sword or bullet or bomb, or the fact that many of these people who die will end up in hell. Is that what you believe as a Christian? Do you believe that the Jewish people who are being killed, that when they're dead, they end up in hell? Do you believe not only John 3:16 and 17, but John 18? For John 3:16 is, for God so loved the world, he gave his one only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe in him stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only son. If this is true of the people in Israel, and this is true of the people in Gaza, this is true of my neighbors and my friends. And we need to get this word out, that our God saves, that whoever believes in him will have eternal life, but those who do not are condemned. They'll be put into a lake of fire where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth with the atrocity.
Fuck this guy. But that is his motivation. Now, his motivation may be born out of happiness. And the idea that I am helping them. I want to help them not burn in a lake of fire. But that isn't what these people need. Morgan and Marilyn didn't even spell their fucking name right, you piece of shit. His trans takes, by the way, are fucking wild. He says, like, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's basically, if you're in a prison cell, moving to another cell doesn't make you free. Implying that the human body is a cell to everybody and that we need Christ in order to be free. And that's like, I think, the nice way of putting what he said. That's like the best steelman argument for the way he says it. So he's wild. And what he cares about is that people don't burn in hell. And that's what he's doing. I'm going to play the video because he made this and it's worth it.
I'm
Morgan.
I'm Marilyn.
Come on.
We're here at Guy's place.
It was a mess.
Easiest way
It was a mess.
to put it. Well, he helped me week from my faith here. He helped me to get baptized here by Pastor Chris, along with multiple of my children.
He's helped me through the downs and outs when I heard bad news about the girls, or when I had a bad day. He's basically just held me up and got me right back up on my feet.
Oh, no, Estelle, I will not play the trans one. He's got 3, and I will not play any of them. Like, they're just vile enough. Like, it's bad. But it's the one where it's like, all the Jews are burning in hell. We need to convert them. Is fucking wild anytime. But, like, it's insane. So this is what he's doing, though. What have they said? Clearly, these are people who are desperate. Got my mustache waxed, so you're going to have to deal with that. These are people who are desperate. This is desperate. Sad. This is fucking sad. This is heartstring pulling shit. I made a joke earlier that at some point you get old enough that you can't help but see people as a kid or someone's child. It fucks you up. I don't know if it's everyone. For me, it's happened, and it's only been raising up in age with me, that whatever that gap is. So I see these people, and it breaks. I lost my cousin. It's like my brother. I lost him to drugs and drinking, and he was addicted to meth for a very long time, and ultimately took his life. People who are in that position need help. They need help. Yes, Pippa. It's that he's not providing it. He is helping them not burn in the lake of fire after death. But they haven't said, hey, he connected us with programs that helped us to find housing. He figured out how we would be able to be saved in this way. It's not that. He's not helping them. He's converting them. And that's what he means by helping. This is the language he used. It's the language they used. At no point have they said, oh, he helped me make sure that my children have a house over their heads. No. Do you know what the other unhoused place does? That. They work with county services. They have an entire thing on their site about how you can specifically help and help them connect people because they want to be transitionary. They don't want to be a dead end. Chris doesn't give a fuck about that as long as you're right with God. Doesn't give a fuck. And this is what happened to my cousin. My cousin was deeply wanting to be found religious, and I was baptized in like every religion, I think. No one ever actually tried to help him. They just wanted to help him in that way.
Definitely not.
No,
No,
not at all.
So,
There is not another church that is like that.
it's a one of a kind, definitely. I mean, you come here to open arms, welcome arms.
I tell everybody to give it a chance, and you're always treated like family.
And tomorrow's your big day. Moving into your new place.
Yes.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Well, God bless you guys on your journey, and I hope things work out well for you.
That Chris didn't help him do any of that. Didn't make a move. Helped him get right with God. So yes, Anjade, that is what Chris says in his videos. And he's pretty particular about it, actually. What he does and how he does what he does. That the church next door doesn't allow people who are drug addicted and actively using or actively drinking because they have children there. Babies. They have fucking babies there. It's if you haven't worked in with the unhoused or the homeless in any capacity, it sounds like, well, you take in everyone. You don't. That's not how any of these places works. Well, that's not how most of these places works. None of the ones I've ever done. Like, that's not a thing. You have to make choices because people can be dangerous, and your job is to make a safe place, especially if there's kids and babies. Especially, and this is not being sexist, women, like, there's challenges with having shelters with single women or a lesbian couple when you have a guy who has a history or is acting violent or is even being fucking weird. You have to make choices. This shit sucks. Do not get me wrong. I'd love it if there was a state apparatus that took care of all this, and there fucking should be. There isn't. So what Chris is doing is saying that he's picking these people up and giving them somewhere to go, but they don't have beds. They have a bed in the back. They don't really have anything. They don't have a kitchen. Like, this is what he's doing. This is what he's doing. So that's his setup. He's just horrifying. The trans video is fucking, he's insane. So, you can see this in the videos he's done, the ads he does, and he's set up, and what he wants is, on this stream the last couple nights I've said, the hardest part about things is that most people don't understand how things work, and they don't care. They just think, do X and done. Pastor Chris suffers from this, clearly, if he's being serious about this, and I can only assume he is. When he says, I just want to have a place for the people who are the least among us. I want to have a place for that. That sounds great. But having a place for the least among us is also what crack houses are. Like, you can't just have a place. You need services. You need setups that enable people to be healthy, to engage with that space in a healthy way, to take care of the people who are there. And so he's just wanting to do the cool thing that is helpful, that feels good, that feels like he's doing something. And instead, what he's doing is he's pulling in people, and the city's even letting him, and he's like, oh, fuck, I have to put on fire rules and all kinds. I don't want to fucking do all that. Here, one sec. We'll pull it up because it's what makes this really, really fascinating. oh my God. Rudd has been, we'll just say, working overtime on helping me find stuff with this one. So much love out to Rudd in our server. Because he's just, it's as soon as you dive into this, you'll see it's just like the most insane, weird, like thing as a thing. And it's really strange. So like, for example, this is a year ago. Charged with zoning violations for housing the homeless. Dad's Place has been charged for violating zoning laws. Violation stems from homeless individuals who've been allowed to stay inside the church for extended periods of time. Chris, blah, blah, blah. And he went on to explain he had previously considered himself an atheist, blah, blah. We planned a church here and a vision for it to be different, intentionally different. First time I walked into church as an adult, I felt super uncomfortable. That's why we named it Dad's Place, to be less threatening. Yes, because there's nothing like saying Dad's Place to be less threatening. It's famous that everyone has great relationships with Dad, and Dad's never scary. The goal is to reach people that didn't know God. It wasn't necessarily to take people away from another church, but to bring people in that already didn't. It wasn't time to be open 24/7 in the beginning, although we were open every day. We always had multiple Bible studies. We ended up starting to open the church up later. Many times we got calls from the police department for someone who needed a place to cool off or who needed help in some way. I figured this was God's way of telling me now was the time. Olivia says, maybe I'm too cynical, but it's weird when there are props in those interviews with First Liberty. It's not that you're too cynical. It's that you give a shit about the person. And that's like the opposite. And it's one of the rules of the work. And it's a thing that you'll see a lot of people really hold strict to and be real dickheads about, is that, like, you can't take selfies with, like it sounds insane when I say it because it's like obvious, but it's like, don't take selfies. Like, oh, look, I'm pouring soup for all these homeless people. Yeah. Like that. Cool. Homeless people next to me. Like, that's not a thing to do because this isn't for that. This isn't, they are not the spectacle. And to make them the spectacle at all, it defeats the purpose of the thing. And by the way, that's the real Christian thing. Hate to break it to everyone. I'm going to do the I am definitely more Christian as not one than this fucking asshole because he who prays in public has received his earthly rewards already. And by telling everyone he's doing this work, by making this, he's literally doing the opposite of what Christ said to do. Like, total dickhead. Again, he doesn't care because he's an asshole. But he's using these people as props. First Liberties really wants to use these people as props because they know, and again, they're defending two people here. Two people. The first is the landlord who owns a bunch of properties around this that doesn't want to retrofit for new buildings. Generally, the landlord does that. If you've ever needed to do a commercial space or have it set up, the landlord kicks in a few bucks for that. Like, you don't just rent a place often. Sometimes it's I shouldn't say often. It's common enough that when you rent a commercial space, you go, I'm going to do it for use. And they'll go, oh, we'll build to use. We'll build to this. We'll help you set up. I've got a contractor. I want to make sure it's done to code because they don't want you coming in and fucking up their building. They're going to help you do this. And they're going to make sure it's done cheap enough and also not permanent enough in case you don't stick around. That's really common. The landlord doesn't want to make these improvements. We don't know if it's the landlord not wanting to do it or Chris not wanting to do it or no one wanting to pay for it or any of that. But that thing that they're doing, that's the landlord. How many people here in the entire world, how many right-wingers would be like, yeah, fuck them, the landlord, the landowner? No one. No one. It's not a sympathetic person. The city has requested that I make minor changes to a building so people don't burn in a fire. And I kind of like the smell of human flesh. So, sorry. It's not good. Pastor and homeless people. That's the second defendant. They're named. Dad's Place is named. Dad's Place is not a fucking legal entity. They're not getting fined. Hate to break it to you. Dad's Place isn't getting fined, but they're the legal entity because Chris is effectively doing business as it because churches are not legal entities as he just not required in the state because we live in hell, I guess. But that thing is sexy. That is, if you were at our anti-oedipus reading today, a pastor taking care of his flock and the random man out from the cold, sleeping instead of on a bench in a cold Ohio street, pulled into a building and given a bed and a warm meal. That man is arousing. That man is a hero. That man against the cold, heartless state. That's our man. That's how we do it. That's how we set this story up. And again, landlord's the one who got fucking nailed. It's got fucking nailed. Pippa, but when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. Pray in private. Go to a closet to pray as a Christian. Do not do it in public like the heathens. There's a lot of shit like that. Christians don't read the Bible. They don't care. And you're also not supposed to mix fabric types and also need to wash your body after you jerk off. Which leads, if you haven't watched Frisky Dingo, it's one of the best episodes of TV ever. It's when he discovers God. Frisky Dingo, highly recommended. It's better than Archer, I think. It's better than Archer. But this is what they're setting up as, and this is the fantastic thing of what they're doing. They're really playing this up because this is the story they want to run with. This is the thing that they were doing. So when you actually start talking about stuff, there's fun little articles who dive into it, like these guys. Start finding fun stuff. Friendly atheist. So, oh, shucks. No, it's no chotele. Actually, I think depending if you're using the right hand and you're giving alms with the left, they should not know what they're doing. Brian Mayor Carrie Schlade says she just wants to protect the very people the church claims to serve. After years of negative press, the mayor of Bryan, Ohio, is trying to explain why her city has been trying to shut down a fake Christian homeless shelter. This is a real thing. We're not the only people. Thank God. Thank God. The answer has everything to do with trying to protect the people who needed the help. And nothing to do with religious persecution. But you wouldn't know that if you only saw the propaganda coming from the right-wing propaganda machine. This guy wrote the story about a year ago. I'm glad we found this guy. This is good shit. He was charged with 18 zoning violations by the city, pleaded not guilty to all of them. At a time when the weather in the Midwest was freezing, even more than usual, it seemed downright cruel to punish a pastor for trying to help the less fortunate. How, after all, isn't that what Christians ought to be doing? Isn't that Jesus-like? How is he the bad guy here? What Avell did seemed a humane no-brainer, said an opinion piece from the Columbus Dispatch. Pastor faces charges for giving the homeless a place to sleep, reads the headline at Above the Law. Those were fair points. Homelessness really is a big problem in our country. Cities as small as Bryan and as large as San Francisco have struggled to deal with the issue. But whenever a right-wing legal group like First Liberty takes up a cause, and the pastor in question does a full media blitz on conservative propaganda outlets, we watched all of his Fox News things. Motherfucker. He's a motherfucker. It's at least worth looking closer at why the city was pursuing him before rushing to his defense. Starts by talking about the church. Dad's Place isn't really a church. It's technically a video arcade called Crane Enables Mini Clawmania. I hate puns sometimes. It's not a bad pun, but Jesus Christ. That's the Crane place we saw. The Crane place we saw. Didn't occur to me. I didn't see the name fully, I guess. 2020, Avell requested permission to set up a church inside the building. The city gave it to him with the understanding he'd abide by the city's zoning laws. Most news stories of the situation focused on a technical rule that Avell broke. Because his church was located in a business district, residential use on the first floor was prohibited. That meant people were not supposed to eat, wash their clothing, or sleep there. Yet, when the fire chief did an inspection of his church on November 21st, 2023, he found 18 violations. But you might respond, who cares? The people need a place to stay. It's bitterly cold. Even though there's a homeless shelter next door to the church, it doesn't have enough space to take everyone who needs help. These might be fair arguments. They're certainly compassionate. But what many articles are missing is that city officials weren't going after Avell because he was helping the homeless. They were going after him because he's literally putting the lives of the homeless in danger. Same reason a church can't just open a soup kitchen on a whim. There are regulations that need to be followed to make sure everything's safe. As long as those rules are obeyed, more power to the organizations that do it. Here's an example. What was discovered during the inspection. You ready? This is fun. Several of these violations were serious and potentially endanger the lives and safety of those in the building. Some of the serious violations included improper installation of laundry facilities, inadequate or unsafe exit areas, LP cylinder for gas grill improperly placed inside the building, an unpermitted gas dryer installed with impermissible plastic duct outside Ohio Mechanical Code guidelines, no permitted and approved kitchen hood over the stove, and limited ventilation. Immediate temporary solutions were implemented to address the most serious fire hazards, and the fire chief, blah, blah. So this is actually a big deal. The exit signs weren't clear. There's no evidence carbon monoxide and smoke detectors were tested. There was a gas leak due to improper installation of an unapproved gas dryer. The city and local natural gas providers soon corrected that problem. This is basically a fucking death trap. If there was an emergency in the building, a place like this would jeopardize the lives of people inside because of the deficiencies. The fire chief gave Avell well over a month to fix the most serious of these problems, but follow-up checks on January 9th and 16th found 5 violations that had not been corrected. Furthermore, on January 16th, the fire chief found 20 people sleeping in cots or on the floor of this building. Told you they didn't have fucking beds. Remember when I said they don't have beds? They don't have beds. They're like sleeping in chairs or in cots like that are popped up. Fucking wild. He was only charged with zoning violations after a reasonable amount of time was given. A year, by the way. Avell had plenty of time to correct the safety concerns and chose not to, which meant he's literally putting lives in danger. And that's it. The people he took in were arguably in more danger at his church than they would have been in a shelter that had proper oversight, like Sanctuary Homeless literally next door. Sanctuary fully complies with it according to the city, and we went through all of that. They're wild. The city also suggested alternative places Avell could set up shop so his church could function as a homeless shelter in a way that would be both safe and legal. The city said, how about these other places? You could do it there and it's no problem. And he said no. First Liberty said Avell is in an ideal spot, able to take an overflow at such a shelter and situated near a medical clinic. Certainly not that the landlord is part of the lawsuit from First Liberty. Certainly not the driving factor here at all. None of that touched on another problem. The city said it had received calls about inappropriate activity at Dad's place concerning criminal mischief, trespassing, overdose, larceny, harassment, disturbing the peace, and sexual assault at Dad's place. At Dad's place, not in the alley. At Dad's place, sexual assault. The press release included documentation that Avell was taking in a sex offender, which arguably put everyone else, you can't do this. You can't do that when people are vulnerable. And again, I know it's a hole in fucking society people fall through, and it sucks. There's not enough people and resources and ways to do this. That hole exists because we're in triage mode. Everything's triage. We exist in a triage country. Triage means that's the way it works. The city was trying to protect people. If he wants to run a homeless shelter, he has an obligation to make sure it's run properly. 100%. None of this stopped conservative attorneys like First Liberty's Jeremy Dice from pretending this was Christian persecution. There's too much fundraising to do off that claim that the secular government is going after a Christian pastor who just wanted to help the least of these. In fact, when a reporter from HuffPost raised valid questions about the gas leak and fire code, Dice refused to acknowledge them. Dice on Friday said the city's statement is filled with half-truths and malicious innuendos designed to vilify the most desperate and downtrodden in our community. When earlier asked of the fire code violations, he dismissed them as a form of lawfare harassment against the church. Each time police visited, Dice said, they presented a new, nitpicky issue he believes were designed by law enforcement to be impossible to keep up with. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is not a Tim and Eric sketch. No. Here's how little it's a Tim and Eric sketch. Hey, look, I'm on my stream. We should turn into that guy. Here he's decent. Here you go. Here's how little it's a sketch. Here they are. This right here. Jeremy Dice. That's the fucking guy that we just quoted. And there's...
About this.
Hey, by the way, that backdrop. That ain't Dad's place. Wonder if that's a nice home.
Quick question for both of you. Do you believe, Pastor Chris, that you won this battle? Is there a winner or loser in this?
This was 11 months ago. Huh. Here's Chris Avell, thanks First Liberty. Remember when earlier I was saying Olivia felt uncomfortable and was like, am I too cynical? This is where we all get to judge Olivia. You tell me if you think she's being too cynical by saying that First Liberty seems to be putting people up as props.
I wouldn't have known or guessed that God has an army of lawyers, right? Fully equipped with the armor of God as described in Ephesians 6, I think it is, right? Fully equipped and ready to go to battle for the saints. And that's just incredible. You know, my prayer when this happened and some people were on me like, you got to get...
No one's going to be upset with you, Olivia. This is fucking the worst. This is the worst thing.
Legal counsel. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, and they're like, but you got to get a lawyer. I'm going, well, how do I afford a lawyer? And how do I find a lawyer who's not going to just be in this to win the case? That I'm not interested in that. And God sent First Liberty. Like, that's remarkable. There's a lady standing behind you named Lisa who's just here to pray. Like, it was incredible because, man, my wife needs support in all this too. And Lisa, my wife's also named Lisa, Lisa was just overwhelmed with joy that there was a woman here who could just come alongside her and pray with her. We have plenty of people at the church, by the way, of course, who do that. But to have someone kind of from the team.
Darkwana says, you can get away with anything as long as you appeal to right-wing sensibilities. I'm going to add an edge to that because I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. It's not just that. What they're appealing to is, I would say, all of us. Empathy. Today we went through a bit of anti-oedipus. I'm not going to go reread it, but the underlying thing they really wanted to talk about is how we like to totalize and pretend that it's a thing liking a thing. Specifically when they talk about sex, when we fuck someone else, when we make love to someone, whatever words you want to use, it's not a person fucking another person. It's two worlds colliding. When you fuck, you're fucking a world. There's a billion connections and arousals and disgusting and all sorts of things and attractions and repulsions and a billion things happening. And all of it is what makes that experience. This is how all of it works. There's a billion parts to all of these things that we are connecting with or disconnecting with. And every single person, I would hope, every single person who's on this stream, who tends to be a bit more cynical, a bit more standoffish, if you don't feel for these people, fuck you. If you don't feel for what he's saying, that we need to take care of the least among us, fuck you. Absolutely you do. We all do. We care. You care about people. We feel for that. And the right-wing sensibilities aren't caring for people. That ain't what they do. They don't give a fuck about people. The right-wing doesn't care about people. It's like the Nazis. This is why the Nazis are right-wing. It's why the fascists in Italy were right-wing. The way that it works is they don't give a fuck about people. They care about this weird ideal of some other shit. Chris Avell here believes everyone needs to be converted or they burn in fire forever. They don't even care about their people, Grizzler. I hate to tell you. They don't give a fuck about their people. They do not fucking care. Their people are fodder. They don't care. They don't care. Chris only cares in as far as it's for God to keep them out of fire, fear, all of that. He's got his own fucking nightmare psychological issues because of all that. He's probably not even there cynically. In fact, very few people probably are. They're playing to the thing that is the safest in all of us, the compassion. They've always done this. They've always done this. This is what they did with, pick a fucking president. The conservative side of everything utilizes the compassion that we have in order to get us to care. It's why people voted for Biden. People didn't vote for Biden because we like Biden. It's out of compassion for and the problems that might be hurt by Trump. That thing is what they did. I don't even think they care about their immediate family. I don't. I think they care about their family in the sense of like the idea of the family. I don't think they necessarily, I know too many right-wingers, and maybe having these issues myself, who genuinely think that I'm going to make the world better for you by voting for Trump and RFK. Real thing that they say to their kids. Or that transness or whatever it is just a phase, and that it's because of vaccines, which is a new thing. Whatever it is, they don't care about the people. They care about the idea. They're stuck in representation. And the appeal to that is attractive. Like Trump, there's I don't know anyone who doesn't find something he did at least slightly hilarious or arousing in some way. When he was on the stage with all the other Republicans and said to them, "Of course you all take bribes. I know, I've bribed you." Fuck. That was a good moment. It was a good moment. It was almost as good as a Mike Gravel from before, but he appeals to parts of us that are angry about the world, that are angry about things, that are compassionate to the poor. This is what he does. All of these things. He says whatever he needs to. He is primarily a salesman. Conservatives are primarily con men. Their job is to sell you, and it's whoever they're talking to that they're going to sell, because they don't care about any of it. And sadly, we here on the left care about all of this. So we're fucked. They will burn down the ship. They will steer it at the iceberg to prove a point. And we'll be doing our best to put on the brakes, trying our damnedest to save everything. And they know that. They know that. So this language works on us, and it works on everyone. It's everyone. It's also about the people who see their families and spouses as extensions of their own will and identity. Well, yeah. Well, the idea of them, that's the idea of the person, because it's in their head. It's their idea of the thing. The child who never grew up past the age of 10 because they don't want to talk about a child who's confusing and all of that, even though they're 30, 40, 50 years old. Kids never grew up because they don't want to talk about the uncomfortable parts. The idea of the child. This is very common amongst conservative families and conservative circles. You have a complex life. We don't want to hear about it. We don't. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. But it appeals to all of us. Do your best, but it's going to. Especially, it will. And that's why this gets to us. That's why, fucking our friends at More Perfect Union. Like, these guys are not a fuck around thing. They're very good. They're very good at their job. They've done a ton of great work. They're fantastic. But on X, they tweeted about this story. Oh God, maybe I can't even search on X anymore. Wow, did they get rid of their fucking... Nope, there it is. Okay. They tweeted about this and shit on it. It's in the links somewhere. Where was it? Let's see if we can find it. Pastor. There it is. These guys aren't garbage. Chris Avell, pastor at Dad's Place, has been found guilty of violating codes by running a shelter for those suffering from homelessness. Avell kept his church open 24/7. Brutal sub-zero cold snap. Boop, boop, boop. That's it. It's just letting them know. You got fucked on this one. But even they got it. Everyone did. And if you want to say like the other comments, type of situation where you can say big government and bureaucracy get in the way of things. Ohio is big evil. So fucked up. Ask yourself, which is less expensive, litigating this up to the Supreme Court or making up building codes so people don't burn to death? The city dropped the case, believing Chris was acting in good faith. Someone actually responded. Oh no, someone replied. In what way was he not acting in good faith? X is a cesspool of nightmares. I fucking hate everything about all of this. All of this is shit. It's all shit. But these guys aren't garbage people. More Perfect Union's very good at what they do. Very smart people. But they got it. It gets you.
You know, the legal part of it. And I go, God, you're amazing. Because this is exactly, I mean, I got to be frank, God, more than I hoped for, more than I asked, more than I imagined. I read.
Yeah, and it's June, and that's where you get really fucked on this. The reason why propaganda, just reading June's comment, why propaganda is so powerful is precisely because it taps into such a deeply human intuition that most people generally have. It bypasses the critical filter. Because who the fuck could be so monstrous to use unsheltered people as props for pushing pro-landlord development reforms via the courts? And you have someone like Olivia, who I've talked to now. Very lovely. Same thing as me for the first week of this. The same exact feeling of like, do I want to attack this? Like, what? He's doing a good, that feeling is unbelievable. That was you? That was your Twitter? Oh, no shit. God damn it. Very nice, Estelle. I'd follow you, but this is one of my bot accounts that I use to fuck with people. Because I put a few things in an AI and I have it search Twitter and respond to people angrily. It's fun. It's been reported multiple times, and no one's doing anything, so I don't care. I'll share it with you. I have 3 followers, and when you see the comments, you'll be like, holy fuck. I have a few comments that I just shit on people, but most of my comments are this. You caused me to have PTSD. Sincerely, U.S. Berkeley grad voted for Trump. False. This is the AI. You're blaming the wrong side of the class struggle, champ. Your UCB graduate status doesn't excuse wage theft and the exploitation you now realize as a Trump voter. Capitalism made your PTSD possible, not those who fight against it every day. Resist capitalism. I do have a bot army on Twitter. I actually do. It's in my garage. False. This is another attempt by billionaire-backed media to stir up fear against workers. Like, it's the worst pot. But it just shits all over people. The thing that makes it great in my mind, and the reason I get a kick out of it, is because I had 7 followers. 3 were bots that got banned. I have a verified follower. This crazy old bitch, she follows me. She follows fucking everybody, but she follows my bot account. She follows my bot account. Like, that's what these people do now. Like, they know it's all bots and it's all garbage. It's all 3. All 3 are fucking Trumpers who follow me. Catfisher, I'm not going to catfish anyone. I don't even think she exists. I think most of these people are actually straight up like, this dude is a fart loading. Like, this is not a real person. Fuck USA. Good job, Mexico, for doing the right thing. Kennedy better be getting on board. I think my bot yelled at him and he liked it. He liked it. It's just depressing. Like, it's just awful. And like, it's obviously a bot account. The name is even clearly a bot account, but it's like, I think it's fun. It's fun to have we follow everyone who retweets this. Allah something. I said, it's like, whatever. Your claim is misleading. The real crisis is in the exploitation of workers under capitalism. I don't even know what that fucking means. I don't even know. I make no friends. I don't care. It's X. I wanted to see how far I could go. Here's the thing to notice, by the way. Like, the number of posts are 0. The number of replies are 7,000 in 6 days. I said it did 7,000. I did one every 1 to 4 minutes. 1 to 3 minutes for 7 days or something like that. And no one did anything. It's not impressive. I wanted to see how it's clearly a bot. Like, clearly a fucking bot. Like, every one of them, nice try, refusing to it's literally like the worst written. False. Everything is written. It's the same format. False. MPRC. Everything's the same format. No one did anything. ever. Because that's how many bots are on fucking Twitter now. Just mentioning.
Read that somewhere, right? God did more. He sent a whole team.
This is an extremely expensive camera, and we're only seeing that one. This is supposedly a news organization. It's not. But it's also
a whole team of legal angels, forgive the phrasing, to come and not just defend a church or a pastor or a people, but stand in defense of our God. And that's incredible. And so
40,000 views, 1 comment, 10 likes. This has been embedded elsewhere and used constantly.
Thank you, First Liberty. Like it's been
Wait, that's the same one. 1 second. As we go here, blah, blah, blah. Houses of worship. He has this whole playlist. Dad's Place Church.
The Christmas lights are up. Moms and dads are out shopping with their kids, thinking about time off with family and about caring for others. That's why it's so shocking that right
I'm betting money they didn't get a license for the drone.
now, on a night when the thermometer will hit 11 degrees, the mayor of Bryan, Ohio wants to kick people out into the cold.
There are people created in the image of God, and because of their social status, and they can be marginalized and forgotten.
Pastor Chris Savelle watches over Dad's Place, a church half a block from the square. Because he's keeping the door open at night, this
is the room. They only have this room and one other, and a small kitchenette area. This is the homeless shelter.
City filed criminal charges against him. He's facing jail time. They even got a judge to demand that he move everybody out and lock the door.
It was just God's perfect timing and His grace that in this darkest moment, right, the time has come where they said, you stop right now, right? And yet we had this clear hope because the Attorney General would come and he lets us know that He's behind us, and then he shares scripture. It was further verification that we're following God here. We're doing what we need to do.
God. Yeah, Dad's Place chairs don't link together. It's because he's not there. The seats are at tables. They're not part of the congregation. That's actually where the rule is. It has to do with the number of seats that are linked and next to each other before they are required to be linked. Remember, his co-founder of his $1 million business, that's been a pastor for 40 years in multiple mega churches and helped do multiple building projects, taught us that.
The city is criminalizing compassion. And who does it hurt the most? People with nowhere else to go.
This is when I turned on him. This video. So Olivia, if you ever felt slightly bad, this is the one that did it. The others make me angry. This is the one that made me go, oh, Chris is a piece of shit for allowing this.
I've gotten a new look on life. I've gotten a new perspective on how God works and the amount of blessings that He gives everyone. If you just stop and look around you, you'll realize that He takes care of His children.
There's a lot of people that don't know what to do. They're losing faith in God because I've done that. And now, since I've been baptized, I am a totally different person now.
Here's the good news. God's grace was made real to these precious people through the work of First Liberty attorneys in the courtroom and Pastor Chris's dedication to his flock. Together, we were able to stop the cold-hearted order, at least for now, while the complex legal fight continues.
The city says that this is all about safety. If you just had a fire sprinkler system, everything would be fine. But they don't require that of the hotel just a block away.
Almost like the different zoning requirement for a hotel.
And so here we are in this room. The door's right there. The church is caring for the safety of the people. The city would just say, in the name of safety, we're going to turn you out onto the streets.
So this door is still open for people in need all day and all night.
God has no reason to stick by me as far as Listen, I was an atheist. Again, so I was 33, and that whole time I did not live a life glorifying God. And man, I've made mistake after mistake, and he stuck by me. And so it was just, I can't give up. We're not going to send him out on the streets.
If you're a pastor, think about driving up to your church on Sunday morning like Pastor Avell did this past Sunday morning, getting out of your car to find a squad car pulling up beside you, and out pops a police officer and hands you 18 different criminal charges for the offense of caring for the homeless.
That's what they do. All of these. They've got a whole bunch of these fucking guys. I went through and I looked. None of these are what they say. They are all horrifying. I find it genuinely disgusting. Like it's wild how much all of these are the same exact shit. All of these are the same exact shit.
If you're
So this is Chris Avell. We're going to go
First Liberty
back one.
Has been sent directly from God to
First Liberty
support and encourage
makes
us.
$24 million a year in donations, specifically for doing this stuff and going to the Supreme Court. And they do this over and over. It's awful. CBN News doing the same thing.
Since March 2023, Pastor Chris of
So here is AP. AP. This is why this story does what it does.
Avell has kept the doors of Dad's Place Church open 24/7.
We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for class night. We thank you
for anyone in need.
Goodbye.
It's like literally what the Bible teaches, right? Jesus in Matthew 25. When I was hungry, you fed me, and when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in.
But operating this sanctuary for the area's homeless has put him in legal hot water with the city. This week, a judge found him guilty of criminal charges related to fire code violations. He could face a $200 fine and up to 60 days in jail.
There's a higher court one day I'll answer to. My thoughts and prayers and concerns are there. So Judge North does his job, and he does his job. I got to keep doing mine.
So frustrating.
As far as the church, they're compliant, they're good, 24 hours a day. There's no problems with that. It's that sleeping in the facility creates that residential use, and that is the real problem that we're still left with.
Avell says there isn't a designated area for guests to sleep. He's fixed some violations too.
This is the room. This is the fucking room everyone sleeps in.
This place has done everything they can to make this a safe environment for the people seeking shelter here. The city has never been satisfied with the effort that Dad's Place has put forward, and they've only moved the goalposts further down the field every time they've come in here for an inspection.
For the people who stay at Dad's Place, losing access to the building could be dire.
I've been here off and on for a year and a half. Just the people that are here, they're so welcoming. I don't want to be in the streets. I love this place.
While Avell awaits movement on the appeal and the federal trial, he says he hopes the church can continue its mission.
Taxmaster is an excellent show. Pastor Avell is, and if you go through there, all this is the setup. This is how they play it. This is what they do. These are his interviews. These are the things. But they never, ever do anything more that is like what's happening there and how it's set up. This is all of it. This thing, it's this bullshit. Pastor guilty amid battle of helping the homeless. Not the thing. None of this is.
Why is this church being hit with criminal charges just because they're keeping their doors open to serve the community?
We share the gospel with them, and we have people who've been following Jesus for years. So we're a church, and we're here to do Christ's work. So that's what we are.
Not that long ago, you decided the best thing to do is to keep the doors open 24 hours a day. Why'd you make that decision?
Well, God had put it on our heart before we even opened, before we even started Dad's Place. And it was just the right time. We were getting more and more calls in the middle of the night for someone who had a need. And and some other things going on. We just prayed about it and said, now's the time. This is the time God has called us, and He'd equipped us to be able to do it. And so we opened up 24 hours in March of 2023.
And to be clear, it's not a shelter in that there aren't beds here, but it is a place for people to come in out of the weather and just a place to be safe, right?
Yeah. My Lord says, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And not just rest as the world gives, but rest for your souls. And so we thought, hey, what a great thing that people can come in 24/7 and experience the true rest that only God can provide.
I was alone for a long time after my husband died, and we lost our house because
This makes me angry as fuck. This poor fucking woman. I know I'm on mute. You could still see the subtitles. Can't you? Or is that not? It does not work. Fair enough. This one.
I didn't have it. I was living on $365 a month after my husband died to support my son and I. And
her son's there. I should not know.
We were alone, and then we came in here, and then we're not alone anymore. That's one of the things. The other is
and Jad, I'm not going to explain the full story of how I know this or where it's been written, but the people who stay there are responsible for cleaning. Because he's a piece of shit. Did you like the notes? It did little notes in the subtitles. Did you see that shit? I like that shit. He's a piece of shit. Yeah, I like that.
Is that at one time I was living in Columbus near Ohio State, and a man came in to rape me.
I don't want what the fuck is going on. I have a general reaction to horror of laughter. It's a side effect of the shit I've been through in life I've led. What the fuck? This is what you don't put in a video. Do I have to explain to anybody why this woman freely does this? I'm not saying they coerced her or they even paid her. No, of course not. She's lonely. She's talking to someone. She will tell them everything about her life. This is extremely normal behavior. You don't use this in an edited video on a YouTube channel to get 4,000 views to make a point.
Rights. But, God told me what to do, and I was fine, but the fear built in. But here, I'm not afraid. I can sleep right here. The door.
We literally now know, and he got in trouble for, housing sex offenders. So, she feels safe there. She goddamn ain't fucking safe there.
doors is unlocked. And I know that the brothers here won't let anybody touch me.
The brothers? So I'm going to assume she means by the brothers, because Yvel doesn't have a brother. She's talking about randos in the church. The brothers who are the enforcers.
Most people go to church on just, Sunday, and then they hardly ever see the people the rest of the week, so it's nice to be able to come back and actually get to know them better, as opposed to just seeing them every...
A year ago, January 3rd, we were walking the streets of Bryan, Ohio, and basically... Cold, broken.
Pouring rain.
And we
Slept
met...
the first night out on the streets in a broken down container.
And we met with Pastor Chris and found not only our spiritual leader, but found God in the process. And it has been... I don't even know how to say it. It's
been a blessing.
It's a blessing, and it's a family. And it's been a very amazing year. It's been a very
Don't show the
ups and
kids.
downs,
Don't show the
but
kids. Don't
God's
show the
doing his
kids.
thing,
Don't show the
and,
kids. Don't show
we
the
are here
kids.
in 100% full force
Dear
in
Jesus.
respect to Pastor Chris.
You
Dear
walk
Jesus.
in these doors, you come as you are. You're accepted as you are. You're welcome. You feel welcome. It's a church, but it's a family, and you immediately get that connection. You know what I mean? It's different from just... I grew up in churches my whole life, and I lost my walk with Jesus for a long time. And coming back here was the first time I was actually able to realize that I turned my back. Jesus didn't turn his back on me. I turned my back. And the trials and tribulations that I was going through, Jesus was there with me the whole time. And he brought me here in these doors to realize that and to see that. And without coming here to Dad's place, I would have never reconnected that, and I would still be very lost.
And I've been around dads.
I haven't watched this video. I watched the beginning of it and clicked away. I didn't know this YouTube channel existed, so I haven't watched it quite yet, Grizz. You're getting a lot of live reactions. I've seen that woman before. She was in another video First Liberty did. I haven't seen, and this guy was in the background of the other First Liberty videos. I don't know if you recognize him. Because they recorded all of this in like a day.
Since 2018. And it does wonders for people. I've seen so many different things happen.
Wait.
Realize that and to see that. And without coming here to Dad's place, I would have never reconnected that, and I would still be very lost.
And I've been around dads since 2018. And it does wonders for people. I've seen so many different things happen.
So I got to tell you, there's a language thing happening here that's also really fascinating. I'm going to put this on the framing board too. His language, very specifically. I've been coming, I'm going to just get
I've
exact.
seen since 2000.
Very lost.
And I've been around dads since 2018.
They've all used this language. I've been coming to, I've been at dads, I've been around dads. This is how you, if you don't know churchgoers, you don't know them. I grew up in a place where the first question often people would ask is what church you go to, because it's part of your home. It's part of you. So when people talk about, I've been at dads or around dads since 2018, they don't mean living there, right? Obviously. Because he hasn't been sleeping there every night for 7 years. No, that's not the case. But Chris has said that's not the case. Like, we know it's not the case. But the language of what a person uses when they go every Sunday, and I would bet that this was a video taken on a Sunday if I had to guess. People will say, I've been here since 2018. That's what people will say of the church they go to. I've been here. The same way that you would say of a workplace. Like if someone caught you and you were at McDonald's, you've been there working there for 7 years, you'd say, oh, yeah, I've been here for 8 years, 6 years. You don't sleep there. You work there. You don't sleep there. You go to church there. The language thing is very fascinating because it means that they can use language that makes it sound like to people who aren't used to that they've literally been there since that time. But it's the normalized church language, which means it serves a double purpose and meaning. I'm actually very fascinated by that. Yeah, you've been a member of the congregation.
It does wonders for people. I've seen so many different things happen. I've seen lives change. And without Chris and this place, and mainly without the man upstairs, God himself, I mean, it would be rough.
I have no real connection with my 5 adult kids, but I've got family here. Not a few, but everyone who's here, whether they're the newest one who came through the door or whether they've been here, as Robert said, for the entire time. And God's presence is just so unmistakable.
Where would these
I do appreciate his facial hair.
people go if it was?
He is Pennsylvania Dutch. There's a unique way that the hair grows. This is as long as it gets. It's a setup. If I shave it down sideways, I could look like this. This is literally a haircut I could just have identically. So I appreciate this man. I appreciate it.
Wasn't open. They'd
I don't feel challenged by the beard. I appreciate a good beard.
be out on the streets. I mean, yes, they can go in their cars, but it's not the same as being inside out of the cold or, where else would they go?
Those aren't people that stay there. These are people who are part of the congregation. It's a congregation thing.
It's something I've heard you say that really stood out to me, and it's simply this. When we say worship in the modern church, we think of drums and guitars and keyboards and singers and all that. But you go back to a verse that says what true worship is. Tell me about that.
Yeah, taking care of widows and orphans. And it's very clear in Scripture, there's this, in Scripture, Jesus says to some of his followers, he goes, hey, when I was a stranger, you let me in. When I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was a prisoner, you visited me, all these things. And we give gifts to those we love.
How do you fuck that verse up, man? That's the opposite of the verse. Whatever.
And God gave us the greatest gift when he sent his son, Jesus, to die for us.
When I was in prison, you did not visit. When I asked for somewhere to sleep, you did not give it. But my Lord, you never asked for those things. No, but others did. And what you do so to the least of my brothers, you do to me. Close enough. Like he did the opposite. He had one fucking job. He fucked it up. Exactly, Chode. It's like, what the fuck, man?
And I want to give him good gifts. And that's the way I can give God gifts. That's the way I can worship.
We already know the good gifts are frankincense and myrrh.
Him is by caring for the least of these. And that's what he said. He said,
Sorry, wait, gold.
Anything you did for the least of these, you did for me. And so this is about me worshiping my God. This is about me showing my love to Jesus by doing what he's commanded me to do. He says, if you love me, you will keep my commands. And so that's what we try to do here at Dad's Place.
Okay, let's get into the legal part just a bit. And I've got Ryan Gardner here, who is an attorney with us at First.
I hate this man. I hate this man. I hate this man. Everyone else makes me sad.
Liberty. I'm going to drill him here in just a moment, so your time is coming. But first, tell me about when the 18 criminal charges showed up. Give us a picture of what that was like when suddenly someone came to the door and said, here you go.
Well, I actually would have preferred it came that way originally because I didn't find out about it till a friend had called and said, hey, what's going on at Dad's Place? And I was embarrassed to say, I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, it's in the front page of the paper. You're being charged with 18 charges and kind of laid down. I said, well, I'll get right over there. I don't know. And so it's quite embarrassing. But, I'll tell you this, as you talk to Ryan here, God is so good.
I have changed the title of the stream. I'm curious if it causes a significant influx. I have a feeling, I just am guessing it's the time of night for Redditors.
good. And he answered a prayer because my prayer, I don't know what to do with this. You know, I'm not a legal guy. And, but I prayed that he'd send me some legal counsel.
All right, Anjad, can't parse the widows and orphans comment. Actually, this is kind of a solid, I'm not a big fan of Christianity as a thing. I'm a fan of a lot of different parts of religions or ideas in them. This is one I really do like about what Christianity was about ostensibly. And again, it's not about now, but ostensibly in the book and the way it was kind of practiced early on, is it was about practice. It was about what you did. Those who pray in public, those who worship in public, receive their reward on earth. Christ was big on this. This was one of his things. He overturned the fucking tables, the merchant tables at the temple. Like what we do is what matters. So for him and how he talked about it, worship was when you bathed the feet of the sick, when you cared for the leprous, when you took care of the widows and orphans. That was worship of God in the act. The act itself is worshiping God. That's what he means. He's shitty at it, and he doesn't know how to talk about it, despite being a pastor, which is embarrassing and should be embarrassing. But that's kind of what he's getting at. And we do know who owns the property. Really, real estate. We have them in the Discord, discord.gg/ad break. If you like what we're doing, feel free to join us and kind of dig into this. Discord.gg/DGQC. The goal is ultimately sort of a anthropological study of this in order for us to, one, break the story apart, because I actually think this could be an interesting, large-scale sort of documentary-esque piece about how propaganda turns us. The second half of it needs to be, though, what we're really working on, which is how to counter this messaging and work against it, because he is a liar. And he's full of shit. And all these people are full of shit, but the messaging worked, and it works really well. So how do we counter this? That's the purpose of the Elephant Project. You'll see it in the Discord. If you also like what I do and you have the ability to support financially, feel free. I'd love to be able to do this full time. It would be lovely someday. The easy way, super chats, memberships, all that fun shit. But Patreon, easily the best. Patreon.com/DGQC. Any level, there's free tier and all that fun shit. Any level works, and we have no perks of any meaning at all, because I don't really believe in such things. But I appreciate anyone's support. But we'll continue.
Council that knew him and loves him and would be praying for me first and foremost, and God delivered. That's what he does. So I'm thankful Ryan's here and Jeremy,
and you still got
the others
fucked, buddy.
of the team.
God wanted you to
Brian,
get fucked.
let's talk about this from a legal perspective. This, on the face of it, if I were just
to sort of fast forward, he ended up getting fucked. So he might actually go to jail. The fines are pretty steep. So we can fast forward. They're going to appeal, but we'll see what happens. But so God apparently hates him a little bit.
User, whereas that's a zoning dispute. But there's so much more going on here than that.
There's absolutely so much more than to a simple zoning dispute here. I have never seen a pastor get criminally...
The way he moves his head reminds me of people I would have liked to beat up.
...charged zoning dispute.
More going on here than that.
There's absolutely so much more than to a simple zoning dispute here.
Right.
I have never seen a pastor get criminally charged. I'll repeat that again just for emphasis. Criminally charged with just doing the work that the church does, caring for the needy.
That's because he wasn't, you stupid piece of shit. That didn't happen. But when you word it like that, look, Your Honor, they say my client is a rapist, but I've never heard of anyone be convicted for loving women too much. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing here. Is there a crime to love women like that? Is it a crime to stand outside of their windows at 3 a.m. with night vision goggles? I don't think so. I don't see a law.
Loving those who have no one else to love them, and seeking and saving the lost. That is all that Pastor Chris is trying to do here, but the city doesn't want him to do it here. To the city, the people here are...
Anjad, the counter might depend on the audience, then it's not a counter. That's the point. And it's part of the thing, and just to go back to the framing page and talk about it, that's this. What is the shared experience that this is that we're able to play with, and how do we reframe it? Because what he's touching into is very close to a universality. But there is a universal in all this. There's always a universal. There's always a universal in everything that everyone matters to and everyone cares about and everyone could be attracted to. That's the goal here. So I'm agreeing, but I'm letting you know it's meant to be about that.
Are the problem, and these people here need to go somewhere else. That is what this is truly about at the heart of it.
And the key to me, and today is we're here, temperatures in the 30s, we had snow overnight, more on the way tonight. The alternative is to say, oh, instead of being here within the safe shelter of this place, and I'm using shelter in the broad sense, but a warm place to be, they're saying, no, you'd be better off on the street out in the cold.
That's exactly right. If the city has its way, Pastor Chris is going to be in jail, and they want these people on the streets because they have nowhere else to go. The city...
Because we'd rather have them be warm, literally on fire, as they try to pile out the doors and ultimately can't because there's too many of them and the door's locked, but it's actually collapsing behind them. So as they're lighting on fire and screaming and basically becoming charcoal that's going to heat up the person who's stuck above them as their flesh melts together, at least they won't be cold.
The city keeps saying, take them somewhere else. Where are they to go? Pastor Chris has a great relationship with the homeless shelter that is right next door. But the thing is that that place fills up. And when that place is full, where are these people supposed to go?
In anti-oedipus, they have the line, the bureaucrat is aroused by his files when he runs his fingers through them. They meant this guy. This guy fingers his fucking manila folders. That's what this guy is.
There is nowhere. And the city isn't doing...
Have you shown the example what happens when these regulations aren't adhered to? I have not, and I will not. There are a handful of videos, and by the handful I mean many, many videos, that apparently are allowed to be shown on X now because X is the new, I don't know, fucking weird world we live in. It's bad, and they are videos that stick with you. I don't recommend watching them. I don't recommend watching them. I don't recommend Googling them. Just know there's a reason we have these laws. And it seems unlikely, but that's how it works, is you need to plan for the unlikely. As a friend of mine, an engineer I worked with when I was doing VR building headsets, and he is crazy, the shit he's worked on, from aviation to fucking AR to like building cameras for like insane stuff. Like physical electronic engineer, really amazing. And he made a comment to me about how, like, the reason that planes had to have cellular phones turned off. And I was like, but that never interferes. He's like, it does in very particular conditions that are extremely rare. And I was like, what? And he's like, but that's the thing. You need, like, depending on the circumstances, the question is, how rare is it and what's the cost? If it's in a VR headset that something's going to go wrong and it'll short circuit and it'll maybe shock the person, that's bad. But if it's that it's rare and an entire plane will, crash into the fucking ground, or a group of people will burn alive, and you can prevent it with very small changes, you do that. You do that. Oh, yeah. Oh, you didn't mean video. Good. I didn't think you did. I was confused for a minute. There are many examples. There are modern examples. There are famous examples. And I don't want to go through them. This is already making me like already super depressed. I don't want to like be up all night with like images in my brain of this because I've seen the other videos and I kind of want to keep moving forward. Move forward.
Do anything to help these people out. And so if the church doesn't step in to do that, who's going to do it?
What's First Liberty doing with this case?
We are going to fight with Pastor Chris all the way on this case. What the city is doing here is unconscionable, and it is trampling his rights under the First Amendment, federal law, Ohio law. There are so many different levels of violations here, and it is completely unlawful what the city has done. And they have made it...
people are giving examples. I gave the personal example I got to experience. Here, I'll show it again, and it's a fun one. We'll go to Google Maps, because the last time I actually showed an article about it. But we'll go to, I got stuck living in Dubai when I was building a VR theme park. Don't do that. Even any of what I just said. in Dubai, live, build VR theme park. None of those things are good. None of those things are fucking good. At all. Dubai sucks. Dubai sucks a lot. I fucking hate Dubai. I hate a lot about Dubai. I really, really fucking hate Dubai. Dubai is primarily this space right fucking here. This is Dubai City. And this is the Dubai Mall. And it's like, it's one of the largest malls in the world. It's hard to describe the size of this. But like the easiest way is that this is a restaurant. Not all of this. This is a restaurant. So just so you can have an idea of the scale of this fucking building, okay? It's huge. Fucking huge. 70 million people a year go through it. It's terrible. Dubai sucks if you have money. I had an unlimited corporate account from Starbreeze. Dubai still sucked. There's like nothing to do unless you're into really, really expensive prostitutes, which is also not my thing. So like it's that and shopping. And it took about 12 minutes for me to be tired of shopping because I was living in the mall. Because the mall has these other parts in it. There used to be a 3D version of this. Oh, fucking, I don't even care anymore. We're going to go right here. This is what matters. Nope. Fuck. I fucking hate this so much. Dubai has roads for workers that are underneath other roads. So it takes a little bit to figure out exactly what's going on. Here we go. No, come on. Okay, come on. This is the mall. And, oh, fuck you. Come on, just go back above. Go back above. Oh, no, you're going to fuck me on this. Jesus Christmas. Are you kidding me? I hate this fucking, I hate Dubai so much. All right, it doesn't matter. So right here is, this is the Dubai Mall. And the Dubai Mall has obviously the Burj Khalifa, which is this fucking gigantic, insane, stupid building. And then they have a couple little sort of parts of the hotel, which they've changed the names of a couple times, which is fascinating to me still. This is the address 1, and this is the address 2, the address at the Dubai. They've changed the names of these a few times. The reason they changed the names of this one specifically, is because it burned down one year, New Year's Eve. Burned down because Dubai doesn't really have fire regulations. They don't have like a fire code thing. So now I'm just going to show the video. I'm just going to address Mall Dubai burns down. There's a significant fire. Like this was not a joke. This was a fucking big goddamn deal. And it burned a lot all day. It was fucking unbelievable. And terrifying. It's crazy. It's crazy. I will give you a couple tips on Dubai just while we're here. And we'll go back to because I have to go all the way back to the map. This sucks. Everything here sucks. Everything here sucks. If you want to go to the cool places, you got to go, I think it's right about here. One sec. Is it Salt? No, it's not Salt. That's like this. There's so many fancy nightmare shithole places. It's hard to remember because all of these places have weird names. There's a place that I fucking absolutely adored. That was, I want to say, I'm just going to see if it just lets me find it. Fish, fried. It's a fried fish place. I'm never going to get this right. There we go. Nope. This is the nice one. I don't want the nice one. I'll post it somewhere. It's a fucking warehouse, little shithole warehouse. I have it marked in my fucking Google Maps because it's the only restaurant that I really fell in love with while I was there. And it's all the fishmongers that come in, they dump all their fish, they go to the market, and this place just goes and they're a fish market. Anything that's left over, you get in this line, and it's like a warehouse. And you don't talk to anyone. You point at the fish you want. You point at a level of spicy and then they give you a number. And then they scream your number, because what they do is they dip the entire fucking fish. They butterfly it, dip the whole fish, and then they fry the whole thing, and then they give it to you. They do no work on it. It was pretty cool, actually. But I can never find it. It might be closed by now too. Dubai sucks. Dubai sucks. I fucking hate Dubai. I hate Dubai so much. I got chased by a camel spider there. It was pretty cool. That was like a highlight of my trip. They laugh at you, especially when you're big and giant. And I, with the beard and everything, and wearing one of the, God damn it, I can never remember the name. Their fucking summer dress, whatever, big white gown thing. They laugh because they see one. They know not to make sudden movements, but when you do, the camel spiders run at you. Now, why do they run at you? It's because they see a shadow and they go for the shadow. And when you run, the shadow moves. And they love it watching you be scared out of your mind. But that was the best part of the trip. I hated Dubai. I hate Dubai. This trip is making me so depressed.
Their mission to humiliate and harass this man all along the way. We talked about him being served papers. We at First Liberty tried to save him from even having to be served. We were in discussions with the city to waive service. But instead of talking with us, his attorneys, the city went around our back and served Pastor Chris on Sunday morning as he was coming in to preach the gospel. And on top of that, they tried to deprive him of counsel. This morning, we were at the courthouse at his arraignment. Twice, the city prosecutor tried to force Pastor Chris to go to court without the representation of counsel.
What's victory look like?
Victory looks a lot like...
Fucking love it. I love... You fucking people always just impress the shit out of me. It is... Guattari is the restaurant. And we're going to look at it because it's... Like, this is the stuff where it's like, as soon as you get... And you can... Locals love this. Locals recommend it. I made friends. I'm still friends with a few people like... both expats and actual like Bedouin locals. And they know the good places. They know the good souks to go to, markets to go to. And I got like some really good cheap opal stones that I had put in a setting. The guy did it for crazy cheap. And I got these stunningly beautiful opals for my wife, which is her favorite stone. But this is Guattari. And when I talked about it, I wasn't joking when I was like, this fucking place, it's like the biggest shithole, and you stand in this fucking line. This is it. This is the line to go in. Then you like go that, and then they just dump everything, and then you get the entire fish. And you just pig the fuck out on this whole fish. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's like a total divey shithole, like basic place, but phenomenal. It's one of the best meals I had the entire time I was there. And I went to like, there were 4-star Michelin restaurants that were like $80 a person for the like 6 courses. This was easily better. Like the fish was amazing. And that's it. Guattari. There's no indoors. It's all indoor cooking, and you come outside. They don't even open during the fucking day. Like they don't. It's crazy. Yeah, that was good shit. Thank you for finding that. That's a good memory. Thank you. I don't have any good memories of Dubai. PVRK. Someday maybe I'll do a stream on so many things I did that were nightmares. PVRK in Dubai, 3 months of my fucking life.
What's going on here right now? Dad's place is open 24/7 and is able to love those who need it most, to care for those who need it the most, and most important of all, share the good news of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Chris, I have to ask, some people would say, why don't you just do services on Sunday? You don't need to do all this. Why is your heart in this? Why do you care so much about the folks behind us here?
Well, I sincerely believe we're commanded to do this to our ability. And so churches all over the country, including here in Bryan, Ohio, do this. And, but this is what God has called us to do and equipped us to do. And I don't believe it's an option. I believe it's a command. And I love God. And so I keep his commands the best I can. I'm a sinner. We all fall short of the glory of God. But I keep it the best I can. And this is who we are. We're a family, These are my brothers and sisters according to Christ. And so I treat them like family because we are family.
Anything else you'd like to share before I let you go?
No, just a reminder, because it's important to me, that I love my city. This is our city. We love our city. And we know, we're a church, we know our battle isn't against flesh and blood. It's against the spiritual powers of darkness in this world, those governmental authorities of the enemy, let's say. And so, but I'm thankful that I have counsel like Ryan and Jeremy and Lisa and others who are here to step in and fill that gap with things I don't know how to deal with, right? Because God sent them as well. God uses all people.
It's almost too much. 3 stars is the top rating for Michelin. I meant 3. I'm sorry. It was a place called Tresinde, and then the chef, who's lovely, because Dubai is one of those things that before I went, a friend of mine who'd been stuck in there and working in Abu Dhabi for like 2 years, because it's if you know anyone who's in the digital space or does design or consulting, you get jobs in Dubai at some point. Everyone fucking ends up. Some people get stuck there a long time because they pay ridiculous money for designers to come out. And I asked him, like, tell me about Dubai. And he was like, it'd be like if Wisconsin suddenly had $1 trillion. I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, you'll know what I mean when you get there. And I do now. And that's how I describe it. Wisconsin, if it had $1 trillion suddenly, wouldn't make it about their culture. They don't really have a culture. They're like an amalgamation of others, and they probably wouldn't be confident in their own. And Dubai's that. So what they do is they spend all their money to bring everyone else from other cultures to do the coolest thing that there is in Dubai. And so they always have like the biggest X or the best Y or the coolest store for Z or the designer thing from this person or anything. And so when you're like the top of the top, and when I was at Starbreeze, I won Sundance and Tribeca film festivals. I opened IMAX VR. We were the hot shit. They were very excited to have us there. And do this sort of VR theme park, and the biggest VR theme park in the world, or whatever it was going to find, doesn't matter. Biggest, best. And so, the way that they're set up kind of from the baseline is that nothing there is their culture, but it's their culture as a pastiche over what other people bring in. If that makes sense. And it's an empty place until you get to the outskirts where you see things like Buktir and where the locals live. Then there's like good food and cool stuff and cool market souks, and all that. But everything in the middle in Dubai City is deeply, deeply fake. Like weirdly fake. I'm done with Chris. We're going to move on from Chris, and we're going to talk about Dubai for a little bit. How's that sound to you guys? You want to learn a little bit about Dubai from someone who hates it? Lived there for fucking too long. Let's change the title of the stream to, and no one joined. So the bullshit pastor thing didn't help me on the algorithm. Discussing Dubai for some reason. PVRK. This is like a different thing for me. So, I'm not going to go into the corporate nature of things or how it was sort of set up, but there was a partnership with the group who owns the Dubai Mall, Amar, and we were set up to build the VR theme park there for some reason, and apparently paid good money to do it, although I didn't experience it. So I got asked for, hey, we are having trouble. Need you to come out smooth things over. People like you, Brooks. You talk well. I'm like a salesman-y type guy. And so I go out. It was supposed to be a 2-day trip, turned into a 5-day trip. My son had been born literally 3 weeks before. Supposed to be a 2 or 3 day trip. Became 3 months. They flew my wife out for 2 weeks. It was awful. It was I hated this. I hated this so much. And it was to build this. When I got out there, the guys who were supposed to have done fucking years of work didn't. And in fact, 2 of them, one of the guys, because all the C-level people in global director, we all were heading to Dubai. One of them, the CTO, Manu, ran into one of them in the airport flying the fuck out because he didn't want to be here. So it was a thing. And so I had to design an extraordinary amount of things. And all of these are my projects. This is John Wick. This is Mummy. All these are my games. My team built these. My team built the sets. We put them in. There was a whole bunch of stuff designed and built and all of that and supervised and all this. It was a nightmare. The Raft was my game. I love that game. That was very fun. And a bunch of pods for it. 4-player simultaneous VR arcade experience. In 5 headsets. Children's carousel, designed that as a thing. This was a long few months. And this is not what I designed. It's a long story about how that ended up as it was. But this place was so large that here's upside down in Dubai. There's an escalator upstairs because there's more shit upstairs. This was what POV Arcade, The Walking Dead, we had 2 months to build all of this. This was the VR theme park set. I did not get paid well for my pain. I got no incidental pay increase or bonus at all for it. They didn't offer me one, but I threatened to go back and they said, what do you want? And I told them that specifically I needed my team and an unlimited budget. Like I wanted to finish my budget for my project that was going to Tribeca. So that way I could win Sundance and Tribeca. So I traded that for my team having that leeway to do that for this. And I left Dubai to fly home and then the next day to fly to Sundance where we won. And then we won Tribeca. It was worth it. That was worth it. Got to do my dream project. This was not my goddamn dream project. So as you go up, you'll see the giant monkey for Ape X. Got to design and oversee the build of that, which was really fun. The Payday VR thing, I got to design and build a bank, which was cool. There's Kenneth, poor Kenneth. Oh, Kenneth got stuck there for like 5 months. And then we built a theater from the ground up for the Mummy and John Wick experiences. It's fucking weird. The whole thing was fucking super weird. And then they fucking like, because Starbreeze, just had some financial difficulties because of some choices made by leadership. Just got rid of all of it. Like it fucking just got rid of everything we did and just put in other shit and didn't even care. So like the monkey's gone. It ended up in some landfill. All this stuff got turned into like, this is where The Walking Dead was. All this stuff got turned into like these really weird one-off experiences and like these sphere chairs. This is where the monkey was just a moment ago. There's a roller coaster that was up here that was crazy to sort of be a part of. They just knocked everything out and someone else put money in. It was like every 2 to 3 years, they've taken something out and replaced it. We went in and replaced a Sega World. I think it was called Sega World, I want to say, was there right before us. It was one of the Sega big arcades. They just put a bunch of these garbage fucking things in over everything because VR is not profitable per square foot for any reason for anyone to have in any way. And it was stupid. It was a stupid idea from the beginning, genuinely. They kept the Dune Rider, which is crazy. That's wild. I think they got rid of the cinema, or did they keep the cinema? Did I see the cinema off in the distance there? The cinema was over there. We'll find out. There's Dune Rush. No, they didn't keep anything. There's the Upside Down. They were so proud of this. There's one thing MR was like super hot on is they had this like weird upside down folded. Someone saw that fucking terrible Christopher Nolan movie with the diving into dreams, Inception, with the folding cities. One of the sheiks saw it and went, I want that. So they have this curving thing of that's projection mapped. It's pretty cool looking in person for about 2 to 3 seconds. And then you're like, oh, that's it. So yeah, this is PVRK. And everyone who went out, everyone who loved it, all this stuff, it was just deeply paid for and wild. And this is what they do in the Dubai Mall. Like the Dubai Mall has all shit like this all the fucking time. If you haven't seen Dubai Mall ski slope. This is Ski Dubai, which is gone now. Again, it doesn't take a lot. Things disappear very fast. But they have like this entire like...
Here we go.
And it apparently was quite cold as shit in there. It wasn't even there when I was around. They did have the ice rink, which was there. They have a full-scale soccer field. And why does anyone want to go there? Allow me to explain. We'll go back to the map. I can explain this very, very easily. Because let's look at Dubai. Now, the average temperature here, this is Dubai. This is Abu Dhabi. This is on the water here. And on the water, this gets 120, 130 degrees in the middle of the day, every fucking day. In the winter, which is when we were building, it got up to like 90 to 95. It was hot as shit in the middle of the winter. Okay. So why are people going to the mall? Well, it's because they need to go indoors. Simply. Why do people visit Dubai? You ask. Because there's a lot of good ways to launder money and very expensive prostitutes. And I say that again, we called them laptop girls. Laptop girls is a term that they actually have in Dubai. For the high-end hotels, when you go through, you'll see extremely attractive women at like 11 in the morning in very attractive outfits, but dresses, but cocktail dress style outfits. When I say very attractive, I mean like everyone. My buddy who's gay was with us was like, wow, like that level, like wildly attractive, 10 out of 10, stunningly beautiful. And they're prostitutes. They're extremely highly expensive. And I didn't really realize this right away, but we were in the hotel bar, and I love this story. I would go there for drinks all the time. I drank a fuck ton while I was there. I was very, very rarely sober if I could be, because you can't drink on anything in the first floor. It's one of the laws of Dubai. You can't drink wherever the public has access. So all the bars are like second floor and in the back. That's how they get around sort of the rules. So there are no male prostitutes. I mean, there are. I mentioned my buddy who's gay. He and his partner have lived in Dubai. They're expats living there, and they're friends with the prince. They're married. He calls him his husband. Like, things are different everywhere than people think. The core rule of Dubai is basically they don't give a shit what white people do to each other. Just don't fuck with locals is basically the setup. It's a really weird social code setup. But it's not as intolerable of people as you think. I was very shocked by that. But I'm like at 11 at night, and the bartender brings me a glass of Macallan 16, which, by the way, on a normal day, not a cheap scotch. Not a cheap scotch. I think it was around $200 or $300 at this hotel. This was not me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't order that. I'm assuming it was a fuck up. And he says, no, lady at the bar bought it for you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she comes over and she starts talking, and it dawns on me. It takes a minute or two. I'm like confused. It's beautiful. I was like, oh, she's not hitting on me. Wait, what? I'm like, my wife's upstairs. Like I thought it was like, she's like, no. And then I realized she does this. She, and the bartender, I talked to him about it the next day. It's really common that in order to attract clients, the same way that, like if I was a salesman selling iron, like shower curtain rings or some shit, that you buy a drink for, hey, I got something to sell you. It's the same process, but with $300 worth of Macallan at a time. That's how much money these people make. Like, it was fucking insane to me. And so when I started learning about this, I went really deep asking people, like I was talking to the locals. I was so fascinated by the entire process. And it is so known and not disavowed. It's part of the culture there. And again, not locals. These are expats. They're generally, from what I could tell, Eastern Bloc Russian women, generally. There were a couple American, but it's not locals. And again, it's not disavowed. It's a known thing. And it's very normal. The partying that happens in the suites apparently is very similar to this. There's a rampant drug use. And it's kind of like a really rich person's playground to do anything. And there are parties out at houses in the desert that are owned by a prince or this other person. It's wild. It's wild. No, Olivia, it's not to lower defenses. If it's to lower defenses, you roofie someone. You buy him some Mad Dog 2020, the good wine. You know how it's good with the screw top, like that kind of shit. That lowers someone's defenses very nicely. Macallan 16, I wouldn't buy any of you Macallan 16. I don't think I could afford it, one. But like that's nakedly transactional is a fair way to put it, but it's a extremely overt naked transaction. No, she let me drink it. Like she was cool about it. She was like, oh, I was like, yeah. And I was just like, this ain't for me. I ain't do this. Thank you so much. And she's like, that's no problem. Just hang out with me for a minute. Don't get up. I'm just going to sit here and talk and I'll be on my way. Because and made sense to me. Saving face, all that fun stuff. But it's like, it was so open. Then this was like the first week I was there. It just blew my fucking mind. And this kind of thing sort of, you could see it pretty consistently because the address I was staying at, the address is the mall's, one sec. It's actually just easier to sort of show. Cause this place is like just wild. When you start getting into like what everything looks like. Boop. It's just such a shitty fucking mall. It's just such a fucking, I mean, I know right where this is. This is the bridge. There's a bridge here that goes straight across and then up and around. I know right where this is. I know this entire mall way too fucking well. Jesus Christ. There's the grocery stores coming up. There's this really great place here. This place, Magic Corn. I want a Magic Corn. There we go. Another great thing in Dubai. Do you have Magic Corn? If you have a Magic Corn, I am jealous. This sounds stupid. And I was like, Magic Corn? It's a fucking bowl of corn. Like, if you've ever been to like Cold Stone Creamery, where like, what ice cream you want? What toppings? They have a big thing of corn. They have a vat of fucking freshly cooked corn. And next to it is like toppings. It's like one of the best things. It's like, I'll take corn and give me salt, some garlic, a little bit of Parmesan, and add a little bit of that spice. It's like boop, 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 boop. And then you just get this fucking corn to eat. Magic Corn. It's great. So this is a shit area of the mall. This is the way out of a sort of a corner area. Don't worry. This does not remind you of any other mall in a second. We're just going down a road. We're going down a road. This sucks. I fucking hate, like, this is giving me like nervous attack. I hate this place. This is the shit area. Don't worry. We're getting there. This is actually not the Dubai Mall yet. This is where I buy cigarettes when I was there. I quit smoking since, but I was smoking 2 fucking packs a day of Camel Crush. starting to get to actually the Dubai Mall. Here's why I know this. This is where I used to go to my room, because the address at Dubai Mall is in the fucking mall. This is how you get to the parking lot and to the address mall. But we're coming out into the main area. Here's the food court and the cinemas. And you go out right here, and this is the proper mall. And it does look like a mall from everywhere. It's not shocking in that way. It's a fucking mall. What did you goddamn expect? They have stores for everything. Everything's kind of outlet-y type of stuff. This is where, like, through here was the food court. They had a good donor place. The Kidzania was like a really cool idea. I got to know the guy that designed it. It's a miniature city. Actually, I'm just going to because there's a couple of this is the stuff where it's like, part of me is like, this is teaching kids for capitalism, but also my kids would fucking love this. So I don't even know what to think about it. Kidzania, in the Dubai Mall is literally a tiny city. It's hard to describe except to say that it's, a tiny city. Please say this is actually a tour of the place itself. I'm hoping it's the tour of the mall, the place in the mall itself. Yes, it is. So this everything you're seeing here is in Kidzania. Okay? So it's hard to describe because it sounds insane, but everything is tiny because it's for kids who are 10 to 14. And it's a miniature city. And when you go in, you pay per kid and the adults are free if you want to hang out, but you have to hang out as a tourist. And kids are given roles. They can go to the city and anywhere and take any job. You can become a doctor, a vet, a pizza delivery man, whatever it fucking is. And so everything is tiny and it's made for kids. The buildings are all the buildings. You can see they're not meant for adults. But everything is, there's the kids' fire unit. Here's the kids' ambulance. And you get to be they have people who work there who drive these things, obviously, but you get to be the ambulance driver. It's really adorable. Hey, I know it's capital. I know, but kids love this shit and they went nuts for it. It was insane, the lines that were there. And this whole thing, straight up, everything you're seeing, this is sectioned off from the mall. This isn't actually part of the mall. This has its own entrance and everything, and it's locked off. It's deeply secure. And it's kind of insane. Yes, they have the fake H&M where kids get to work at, and mostly they don't fold clothes or anything, but they get to do fashion shows. Mostly it's that kind of thing. It's very strange and surreal. And when it's at its full pack, and again, all of this is a kid's space. Everything you're seeing here is locked in. It's it is hyper real. This is next level crazy shit for me. This blew my mind when I got to walk around it. But it's 100% just filled with kids, and all the kids. The police station is kids. And when it's full, it's actually, I know it's for capital, but it is fucking really cute, and I kind of don't care. And there's everywhere. Here's the London one, which is kind of similar. I'm pretty sure it's about the same size.
It's time to explore the city.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Good. Blah, blah, blah. And it's basically everything's a ride kind of thing, it's activities and stuff. Kids fucking go nuts for it. Kids go nuts for it. They learn how to fire hats, all that shit. Kids love this stuff. But this is in the Dubai Mall. One of these is in the Dubai Mall, and it's not even a significant portion of the goddamn mall. To say the least. It's just not even close. It's just not. So let's see. Where else can we go in here? Because I want to see if they have the souk, which I think they do. Let's find out. Because the aquarium is, the souk is through there, but Yeah, this mall is gigantic, by the way. It is all of these floors plus a sub-basement, plus, even more beyond that. It's kind of insane. Let's see. It's a sizable piece. But I'm trying to find the souk, and the souk is, let's see, Dubai Mall souk. Yeah, there's the Souk Al Bahar, which is in the mall. That's the one that's one outside. It's really interesting little souk. This is the one inside. Temporarily closed. Of course it is. Of course it fucking is. Doesn't matter. We have pictures. Haha. So they have a souk is it's an Arabic marketplace for mostly some of the worst smelling incense. I'm not an oud fan. If you're a fan of oud, like Dubai is heaven for you. If you find it repulsive, like I do, you actually never get used to it. Oud is not very good. Shuk in Hebrew, but this is, the souk itself is actually all of the most expensive jewelry stores I've ever seen in my fucking life, and clothing stores and cloth stores. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. Wandering around and seeing like the highest end watch stores all have $150,000 to $200,000 watches. They didn't have anything that was even like remotely hilariously in my price range. Nothing had even remotely that. It was fucking absurd. It was absurd. It was one of the craziest fucking things. And then this is of course closed. They're probably getting rid of it because who fucking knows? Whatever. The Dubai Mall is kind of a weird place. They have the aquarium. And the aquarium is a trip because it's in the mall. Come on. Show the outside. Here it is. It's crazy. The shit that they have in these fucking things is fucking crazy. Yeah, it's fucking whale shark and shit, man. What the fuck is half this stuff? Like, it's like, wait. When I got introduced to it, mute you. So in the time when I started there, when they do the tour, as they always give the tours, they're always like, this is the largest indoor aquarium in the world. It's like, Jesus. And it is. It was at the time. But then like a month later in Abu Dhabi, I want to say, another place opened one bigger. So, and they do this. They're one-upping each other literally at the same time. So they open one thing, another one-ups. So then the next group came through and they were doing a tour. They introduced it as, this aquarium has the largest single piece of unbroken acrylic in the world. Because everything has to be the biggest, best in the world. Like they have sharks in there that like I didn't know you could have in captivity. Like it's crazy shit. It's huge. It's huge. They have the simulator sucks so hard. There's so many things that suck so fucking hard. It's hard to even say. But like, it's impressive to see. It's really impressive to see. And then above it, they have, and I don't know if they have a picture of it in the mall. They have the world's largest OLED screen. Or they did at the time. Again, largest. You'll hear them say this a lot. They have a lot of spots around. Let's see. Let's go outside. So like I said, this is a restaurant. I wasn't joking around. That's how big this fucking place is. This is a restaurant. Nando's is pretty good, actually. Nando's is pretty good. But none of these restaurants have booze. Not a single one has booze. They're all on the first floor. No booze. On the other side here, you have this huge piece of water that has, one second. Oh, this must be, what time of year was this taken? I'll zoom in. See these things? This is the largest fountain light show in the world. Okay? So if I go, we're going to go to the YouTubes. And this isn't going to get across how impressive it is. It's actually really crazy to see in person. If I could, every night I would try to like be eating outside or something. And they did these shows, Dubai Mall Fountain Show. It is really stunning to see in person. This is probably going to be decently edited. I can't play the music. It's synced to music. It's often Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, NSYNC, some local stuff. These are 200 feet in the air. Like, these aren't like small jets. These are gigantic jets of water. It's hard to describe how fucking high this shit goes. Like, it's like bend your head back high in the air. This is like a really good, like fisheye style lens to get a lot of that in. It's incredible. That's the address over there, the hotel. So yeah, it's wild when it gets going. And then let's see. Yeah, you can't seeing it from above gets it across pretty well, actually. Because again, that's 5 stories right there. That's fucking how high that is. It's crazy. They have fantastic health care. My son, who was an infant, a newborn, when he was a month old. He was there for, let's see, he came out on November 23rd or 24th, stayed through the end of December. So out there for a month. Because I told him I'd go home. I'm not missing my son's fucking first few months. And my wife's a trooper. She flew out. I did make them fly her out first class on Emirates, which, by the way, it was a decent flight. So I did make them do that. But he got sick. And if you haven't been a parent, it's terrifying to have a sick baby. Terrifying. And so it was like, holy shit, what do we do? And they said, oh, we'll take you to the American hospital. I'm like, what? There's an American hospital filled with people who've studied medicine in America or Americans who are expats. And we went in. The doctor was lovely, had amazing bedside manner, wonderful with us, calmed us down, calmed Dexter down, was very nice to him. It's like, oh, it's just this. It's some light thing. It'll be these things. And it's a little bit of this spray in the nose. He won't like it. Here's this to do that. And I said, cool, thank you. And he's like, they'll see you outside. And this nurse took us outside. We walk out. And she's like, all right, so here's what you need. And we'll see you guys later. That was it. They take care of everyone there, apparently, in that way. Very weird. Very weird. Not what I expected. I expected a sort of American experience. But it was not an American experience. So that was lovely. I mean, that was better, I guess. But it's this is Thriller, which I can't play for you. All of it's timed, and it's really fucking impressive, and the colors get really, really cool. Like it's cool to see. There's a Five Guys there. I ate Five Guys. I think by the end of it, I was eating Five Guys 2 or 3 times a day. I also lost 40 pounds, and then I put on a bunch of weight, like pure muscle. It was a healthy trip for that, at least for me, I guess. God damn. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a trip. Dubai is so odd. So this weird place right here, all of this has these tunnels underneath in areas. The parking garage in Dubai Mall, if I remember, has 10 levels, but there's only 6 stories. Down where they let the workers come in and out, and the side areas. I was wearing my I was in my worker clothes, and a couple of us were walking through the mall after working all day. We were covered in paint and fucking dust and all kinds of shit. I had cuts on my face. It was a lot of work. We were building stuff, and a couple of the guys with me, they were set builders. They did a lot of the set work for Man in the High Castle. We had brought them out because they were a friend of another guy I was working with who's a good dude. We're walking through, we're covered in all this, and security stopped us because workers aren't allowed to walk through the malls. And we had to prove who we were and that we weren't workers, that we were actually staying at the mall too. We almost got in big trouble. You're not allowed to walk through the mall if you work there. No, no, no. Bad, bad, bad. Bad, bad, bad. Bad. Bad, bad, bad. God, what a fucking nightmare. Ugh. Ugh. Outside of Dubai, once you get out into the tax-free zone, which is a drive, I want to say up here. I'm not positive on this. I get turned around because none of this shit made sense to me, and no one told me anything in English. But it's where the tax-free or duty-free zone is a huge zone where basically taxes work differently. Shit lands, people can work on stuff, and then it only gets brought in at the very end. Like our monkey, for example, the materials got brought in, worked on there, and then brought in. We only took care of the monkey as part of the pay. Their entire system is very much built on this sort of weird understanding. But if you want a cool place to also go, there is right here. This was probably my other favorite trip. Let me see if I've got my photos for this one. I'll share a few of them. Because this is where Ian and I, he's a dwarf-looking, like, really heavy-set red-headed, like, dude, like, Gimli-looking motherfucker with, like, a big red beard, like, and just hilarious looking. And he and I together, it didn't work, but it was hilarious. And we went to this place. We got just the craziest photos because everyone absolutely adored us. Does Dubai have Swedish? Yes, Dubai has sewage trucks everywhere because they don't have a sewer system. There's a lot of reasons Dubai sucks. Don't get me wrong. The good souk, if you ever want to go there, is way the fuck up here. It's a drive, and it kind of sucks to get up there. But it's basically the reason it's good is it's by where the water comes in. It's by a lot of docks and harbors and inlets. It's here all the way up, and it is not easy to get a ride there. No white people go there. So you have to like really make clear that you want to go to the Dubai Spice Souk or the Gold Souk, very specifically this one, and it's a whole fucking arguing thing, and you have to give them the right roads, and they scream at you and all that. But if you can make it through, the Spice Souk is fucking insane. If you're I'm ex-chef cook, I cook everything. This is what is filled with. This is the Spice Souk everywhere. There's 50 of these stores like this. These are spices. I bought a pound of, sorry, my brain is slowly fading. Little tiny red bits. That's the inside of the orchid. Dum 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 dum. Have it upstairs. Saffron, thank you. I bought a pound of saffron for $28 US. And it was like great quality saffron, like insane. I got it home. I sent a bunch to people. I packaged it up. I ended up using it in everything. Like a fucking pound. Like, because they don't, they do bargaining, super fun. They do that thing. So if you want to do that thing, you can. But it's just sitting out. There's a spice store. There's a store, I want to say, right next to it. Let me see if I can find it. Like, these are all just spices, and it's all insanely cheap. Like this, like just pounds and pounds of this shit just sitting out, waiting for people. Here, there, like this. See this? That's all saffron. These are all saffron. Actually, I bought saffron at this place. I have that little gold. I have one of those. Bought one of those full. Like, it's insane. And all this saffron, you can buy the cup of it. These are not pictures of saffron. Like that's actually in there. Let's see if we bought stuff here. I actually went into the store. I know this store. But all this stuff, these are dried fruits, spices by like you wouldn't even believe the amount. These are all of the dates of various kinds. There, that right there is and it's wrapped vanilla. Like the actual vanilla pods. It's fucking wild. It's fucking wild. This place, like, the souk was really fun. Look at all this shit. It's so cool. All of this, it's the same thing. 100% pure Iranian saffron. You go during harvest season, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It was wild. It was intense. Gold everywhere. This is the main walkway that's like goes on forever. We went off of this and I started finding the wholesalers. I like buying things that have broken English. And it was Bugs Bunny dressed up as a gangsta saying, "Give me pizza, touch my booty." And the guy thought I was nuts that I asked him. I bought his entire set. I gave him to everyone as gifts. It's fucking awful. It's like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. But it's like, it's filled with shit like that. Just all kinds of random stuff at the spice market. Like, again, see this right here? That is not a photo. That's not like a picture of saffron. That's a pile of goddamn saffron. It doesn't take as much as you think to get to a pound, but it's a lot of saffron. And if you sit and you bargain and you annoy people enough, they don't care. They'll let you do whatever. They like Americans. They wanted us to buy some head scarves. We did that and a couple other things they wanted to sell me on. I just wanted saffron. So we bought some really, really terrible dried fruit that I'm not a fan of. But the stores are hilarious and just really wonderful. And this is the cool part. But again, you'll notice this is not where tourists go. The saffron tastes good. Do not eat saffron. Do not eat saffron. It's not broken English. I said the sentence as what it is, not the broken letters that were in it. I'll find a picture of it. It's hilarious. Let me see. It was a trip. This was wild. All right, I can go by map, can't I? Yes, I can. And let's go right to Dubai. Ugh. So when I said me and there's the two of us dressed up and going out for the day, it's a good time. It was a good time. Okay, here it is. Bugs has a chain with a golden carrot laced with diamonds, and it says "Prettig Rabbit" instead of "Pretty Rabbit," like it's a G instead of a Y. Okay, like "Prettig Rabbit." The heart up here says "Touch my booty," but booty is spelled B-U-T-Y. Touch my booty and buy me pizza. And then over here it says "Keep your dit fants." I like that. I like that a lot. Found this here, just random photos of the trip that I think you'll find entertaining. This is the most expensive thing I saw the whole day. It's $25,000. It's a gold-plated diamond pacifier. That was at the souk. And here is the matching bottle. It's gold-plated. Which I don't even know what to do about or how to think about. Let's see. 1 second. I know I have more. Oh, damn. Oh, are these. Oh, fuck. This hurts my heart to see all this stuff. See, and there's little decks. Let's see. So, fuck. 3 months is a lot. There we go. And then I found My Importer Exporter. The odds are very limited, we'll say. There are the opals I got, which, God, I still can't believe I found them. Like, that's not a small opal. I did not spend a lot on this. My wife's a big opal fan. Then let's see. There was another fucking crazy thing. Nope, that's just more Dexter photos. I was a dad. I took a lot of Dexter photos. That was what Christmas was for us, on the fucking dress bed at the hotel. That's the closest we got. We sent Christmas photos from Dubai to my parents and everyone else. Oh God, what a fucking heartbreaking trip. Oh, I loved how they spelled my name at Starbucks. Another thing I loved about Dubai, because no one knew how to spell my name, so everyone spelled it with an X. I almost just went, I want to keep that. Brooks. B-R-O-X. Not two O's. B-R-O-X. Brooks. That's what I like it. I like that. That grew on me. There's Dexter in the hospital. Let's see. Photos of meals. Let's see, I know I have. Fuck, what a ridiculous meal that was. Yeah, Carnival was wild. They had this, the CEO of Starbury's, Bo. He was one of the guys who created Payday and the team over there. I was his food guy. It was a joke early on. It tends to happen wherever I work that I'm the person who picks all the food. And so when we were in Dubai and he was stuck there with me, every night he'd be like, "Where do we go?" And he would just pay for everything. I was like, that's fucking, it was cool. Here's me eating the Dubai burger from Burger King, which is more disgusting than it sounds. And yes, that's a green bun, a black bun, and in the middle, turkey bun with white cheese on it, because that's like the flag of Dubai. It is exactly as appetizing as it looks. Exactly as appetizing. Fuck. Some cool stuff. That's when the guns came in for the fucking Walking Dead. I'd show a lot more, but NDAs are NDAs, so there's only so much. But so I have to be careful about what I show, because a lot of this shit is like, what a nightmare. Because the reason we were there to fix it was because the previous team had decided to use this as the props for The Walking Dead. And we'll just say Amar was unhappy with the quality of the props. That would be a nice way to put it. Amar was unhappy with the quality of the props. So instead, we had to stay and fix everything and everything and everything. It's a lot. Dubai as it is, and I'll say this generally about, I think most of the Middle East was like this when I got a chance to visit. Not the poorer places, wealthy places. And I think a lot of places like this in the world are very similar, where they're, when I used to travel, and I'm very lucky that I've traveled enough where, like, I once had to get a new passport because I filled it up. I had to get an addendum for that passport afterwards. I mean, I traveled a fucking ton for like a decade of my life. Dozens and dozens of countries. And when I started, I used to be able to go to foreign countries. And I say that with particular language. The first time I got a chance to go to China, for example, if you go into Hong Kong, Hong Kong is very much a foreign-ish experience, but there's a lot of comfort elements that are like, you can eat at fucking McDonald's. You recognize a lot of stuff. The toys are the same. Like, Hong Kong's very Western. There are fish and chip places right on the island. If you want to go out to it, it's not a big deal. So it's like foreign enough, but it's not foreign. Go up to like Guangzhou, or you go to rural areas of China, it feels like a foreign country. And so much so that it was like this fascinating, oh my God, I'm actually somewhere foreign. Parts of Vietnam have this, parts of Korea do not, that I've experienced. There's Western. Ukraine, parts of Ukraine absolutely are Westernized. Kiev has not as much, but feel free to take the, 4 hour drive down to Dnipropetrovsk, down the river, down the Dnipro River that runs by a rather famous nuclear plant. down to Dnipro, and it feels more like like there are places there it's like genuinely a foreign experience. As time has gone on, and I've gone back to places and I've changed that setup, it feels less and less like a foreign country. In Dubai and in the Middle East, it feels a lot less like that. You go out into the souk, like the place I just showed, there's no foreigners, and it's not a lot of tourists because it's for locals. It's meant for locals. And that feels foreign. The food is unusual. It's not stuff I expect or I've heard of. It's all like local enjoyment and comfort food, not the fancy shit that they're like, here's a vegan harissa. It's like, I don't want, if you can say it to me in English, I don't really want that food today. I want something local. They don't care, but they do out there. And Dubai has that thing going for it where nothing is foreign because it feels as though the people there don't trust their own culture enough to be able to be expansive enough. Everything is foreign. They have Christmas shit everywhere during Christmas. Tons of it. Santa shit everywhere. There's like Nike stores and everything has that edge of westernization and familiarity, and it's sad because the actual Bedouin culture that sort of exists in the space is so incredible and rife with mythology and stories and colors and styles and so much that you can see when you go out into the outer spaces. But they want to attract foreign money. They want foreign investors. They want foreign real estate investment. They want people to come there. Saudi Arabia's got this problem. Like it's a shit country, but they want people to come there. They want esports teams to come there. They want tech firms. If they invest in you, you have to open an office there. They're doing anything they can to get people to come, and they want Westerners to come because that's where money is, and they want money because they know oil ain't lasting. The sheikh, famous quote from one of the sheikhs is, Dubai or Saudi Arabia, was my grandfather rode in a camel. My father rode in a Mercedes. I roll in a Rolls Royce. My son will roll in a Rolls Royce. His son might have to ride a camel. It's because they know there's an end to this and the oil money. That's why they're trying to diversify and find other shit. But that thing that's happening there means that they don't have the ability to just sort of trust their own culture despite all the money they have to teach the world about it or to enforce it. And so everything's imported. All the designers are imported. I know the guy behind Dubai 2020, the big thing they did, the fucking World's Fair thing. All the teams behind it were white guys from the US. And that fills the place. That gives it a kind of Western thing. It's not interesting. It's not interesting anymore. And there's a lot of places where this is generally the case because they don't trust their own culture. It's very weird. Sorry for the ramble. But it's a big shame. It's a big shame. And I don't care for a lot of countries in the Middle East for the most part. I love the people and I love just outside of it, but the cities where I tend to be forced to work, it's not the case. It's true in Europe too. Like I really love Paris, but that's because I'm into wine and museums and food. Paris is like king for that. But outside of Paris, Belgium is extraordinary for this. But so it varies. It varies. It's just a shame. But yeah, it's a quick. To attract money, you need to become Americanized. That's just how it works generally. The situation here is a tad bit complicated. It is. And it's, and I think the thing I found most amazing, we had a bunch of younger Emirati, as they're called, working on our projects because it was cool and they wanted their kids on it and it was winter, so it was like an internship type thing. We got to know all of them really well. And they're all very, kids are all right, I think is the phrasing I would use. And I tend to find that everywhere I go these days, where it's like in Dubai, of all places. Oh no, are they worried? What's it like? Because I don't know. It's Qatar. I got a chance to travel there. You never know how people are, but it turns out, yeah, they're fine. They're Like they're having parties, they're enjoying themselves, they're doing their thing, they're kids. And they're a lot more welcoming about things than their parents are. And it's that shit's happening everywhere. It's very, very interesting. It was very interesting. But it's like, you know, everyone there is pretty cool, actually. I kind of liked a good amount of the locals. What a weird world it is, though. Dubai's a very weird place. And, yeah, it's very strange. Very strange. I had to go to the American Embassy for the passport for my son because he was just born. We didn't have a passport for him yet for him to visit. And it was like, honestly, I was guarded by Marines, and like I had to walk alone after putting all my stuff into like this pocket in an armored room, and then walk outside through like a gauntlet with like fucking Marines overlooking me on each side before I could get into the embassy where they had like these metal sheets guarding stuff. It was fucking weird. All this shit gets so weird and tiring. Fuck. Yeah, Dubai's a trip. With that, I'm probably going to end the stream out. It's a solid couple hours. Sunday is going to join tomorrow, and we're going to hate watch some of that video content he had. If you can, please do join our Discord. Help us through the Elephant Project. Help us through how these things are working and see what we can do. Because as you're seeing from the pastor story and all that we can do there, there's a lot more that can be done. Otherwise, if you like what I do, please send a super chat, join the memberships, all that fun stuff. If you remember, you get to use all kinds of really fun emojis. Like the goat son, which is, to me, the greatest of all time. And that's a very good pun, by the way, if you don't know it. But you get to use the goat son emoji as an example. I have a few others. We have the mask. We have the rock. We have Nietzsche's mustache. And then, of course, we have... Really? Oh, it did. It shut me down? Really? You stupid thing? That's okay. We got a few others as well. So, join. Support us. This would be great. I would appreciate your support. And of course, Patreon is another way to do that. Patreon.com/DGQC. Otherwise, I'll see all of you tomorrow. And I hope all of you are safe tonight, today, wherever you happen to be. Thank you all for joining me for this rambly time.